could be a significant step forward in countering the Chinese regime.
And the Super Bowl this year will join in the celebrations for America's 250th birthday. What the America 250 Commission has planned.
This is NTD Good Morning. Live from our global headquarters in New York City, here are Stephanie Cox and Carrie Dunst.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Today's Thursday, February 5th. This is NTD Good Morning. Today's top news. The search for NBC anchor Savannah Guthrie's 84-year-old mother continues.
The family now speaking directly to whomever may be holding Nancy Guthrie. Here's the latest.
Today's show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie posted a video message yesterday addressing anyone who might be holding her elderly mother.
Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile.
Nancy Guthrie disappeared from her Arizona home several days ago. In the message posted to Instagram, the NBC co-host spoke to the potential captors directly.
As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk.
Savannah, who appeared with her brother and sister, said the family had heard media reports of a ransom note, but said it was an age in which such material can be faked.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us.
The siblings spoke directly to their missing mother, calling her their beacon.
Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you.
President Trump said he spoke with Savannah Guthrie yesterday. In a Truth Social post, the president said he's directing all federal law enforcement to be at the family's and local police department's disposal. Nancy Guthrie was last seen on January 31st when she was dropped off at her home by relatives after having dinner with them. Authorities say she was reported missing the following afternoon. Police have cordoned off her home. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos told CBS that Nancy Guthrie could not have walked away from her home and that he believed she was abducted. He told reporters this was not dementia-related and that the elderly Guthrie is as sharp as a tack. He noted Guthrie had limited mobility and she was taking medication daily. As of now, no suspect has been identified.
And the sheriff will be holding a press conference later today on the situation. Our hearts and our prayers go with the entire Guthrie family at this difficult time.
That's right. And next, we will take a look at immigration enforcement. President Trump has signaled that immigration officials are adapting their techniques amid heightened tensions.
NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on that and an update from the southern border with DHS Secretary Kristi Noem.
The Trump administration is reducing the number of immigration officers in Minnesota due to increased cooperation with local law enforcement.
Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately we will draw down 700 people.
Border Czar Tom Homan said it is smarter enforcement, not less. President Trump discussing enforcement operations in Minnesota.
I learned that maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hard criminals.
Trump says he has called Governor Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Frye and had great conversations with them.
And then I see them ranting and raving out there, literally as though a call wasn't made.
Trump called the shooting deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good unfortunate, speaking on NBC News.
He was not an angel, and she was not an angel. You know, you look at some tapes from back, but still, I'm not happy with what happened there. Nobody could be happy, and ICE wasn't happy either.
And the president says they have 5 cities his administration is strongly considering for new enforcement operations, but they prefer to be invited.
We could have Chicago be a safe city, just like D.C. is a safe city, just like all of these places that we've gone to.
The Department of Homeland Security said yesterday 4,000 illegal immigrants, including violent criminals, have been arrested so far in Minnesota under Operation Metro Surge. Recent arrests include criminals convicted of sexual conduct with a minor and domestic assault. President Trump praised DHS Secretary Kristi Noem when asked if she still has his confidence.
Look, she was in charge of the border. The border's closed. We have the best crime numbers that we've had in 125 years. I think she's doing a very good job. Again, public relations. She's not getting credit for the job that she does.
Noem visited the southern border yesterday, saying the Trump administration has delivered the most secure border in American history.
And we did it with the immediate aftermath we were facing from that humanitarian crisis that was created from Joe Biden's open border policies.
Noem says the border is so quiet that sometimes you can even forget how bad it was just a little over a year ago.
During the Biden administration and those open border policies, we saw even the UN declare that the United States and Mexico border was the deadliest land route in the world.
Noem says some counties along the border had to install migrant morgues just to pick up the dead bodies that were passing away.
And while the left tries to tell us many times that it's somehow compassionate to allow that kind of chaos, it isn't. It was dangerous.
The Homeland Security Secretary criticized those against enforcing immigration laws and deporting illegal immigrant criminals, saying, "What about the victims of their crimes?" Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And Secretary Kristi Noem says a person accused of leaking information from the Department of Homeland Security has been caught. She said the leaker put law enforcement at risk. She has not named the individual.
In a post on X, Noem said that the department would track down leakers and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, regardless of standing or political appointment. Noem said there has been an 8,000% increase in death threats against federal agents in the recent months. And joining us to discuss border czar Tom Homan's update on the surge in Minneapolis that we just saw earlier is Simon Hankinson. He's Senior Research Fellow with the Heritage Foundation. Good morning, Simon. Thanks for joining. Your initial reactions to Homan's press conference yesterday?
Well, it's not unexpected, is it? What was happening in Minnesota was getting a lot of national attention and international attention. The facts on the ground were being spun ludicrously out of proportion, all kinds of conspiracy theories, artificial intelligence photos, members of Congress, politicians, media making, frankly, uninformed and stupid judgments. And then just this vilification of immigration enforcement that I've never seen anything like. I mean, people who know absolutely nothing about immigration law or how this country works, suddenly having an opinion that agents of the United States government are equivalent to Nazis and need a Nuremberg trial. So I think taking the tone down a bit is a good idea. But also, if Homan was able to get the cooperation that he asked for and needed, that Minnesota and Minneapolis could always have given him, then none of the events that we've seen over the past few months, including the 2 unfortunate deaths, would have happened. So I'm glad to see, if that's the case, that Minnesota is putting their pants on and behaving like adults and understanding that their own views don't outrank those of the voters of the United States as a whole.
And I do want to come back to that point about what might be behind sort of what President Trump has referred to as the agitators. But staying with Homan, he said that there would be a 700 agent drawdown immediately, the goal being to draw down completely to the pre-surge levels. Are you clear what that goalpost looks like to go back to the normal amount of ICE and CBP agents in theater and returning those people back to those states where Homan said they are needed, like I think he said California and some other states where they had to take those ICE agents from?
Well, yeah, I mean, ICE is part of DHS. They have offices in all probably the big cities, New York, Portland, Boston, and they have a limited number of personnel to go after what's somewhere between 15 and 20 million illegal immigrants, of whom at least 500,000 are currently deportable, meaning they've got actual written orders of removal, and hundreds of thousands more will be coming into that bucket as the immigration courts move through them. So they can't all be in one place at one time. They had a surge around Chicago. They had a surge in Los Angeles. They had a surge in Minneapolis. Now, the number of illegal immigrants in Minnesota is not large compared to, say, Illinois, New York, California. So it would make total sense at some point to put officers back into their original headquarters. And remember as well, if you're surging, then all those officers have to be put up in hotels. You're paying them per diem. They're not living at home with their families. So there are additional costs, both in morale and in financial terms, that you have to pay when you have a surge.
And then while stating how proud he was of the ICE and the CBP for their performance and professionalism under what was, of course, intense pressure, he said that they did identify two operational gaps, one which clearly already rectified that they're getting the body cams and that the officers themselves prefer to have those body cams. He also said that there was an issue with not having a single chain of command. Can you explain what he was referring to and how that was playing out tactically on the ground and how streamlining that has improved the situation?
I'm only going to guess here because I'm not privy to the information that he has, of course. But I would think that it's to do with you've got under DHS, you have Customs and Border Protection, and under them come the Border Patrol. And then you've got Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're separate bureaus within DHS. And under Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, you've got ICE Homeland Security Investigations, and then you've got Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO. So there's lots of different branches of DHS that are all working together. And they've had to bring in people from all these other units. Then I believe they've brought in some other federal units to come and help with the force protection. If National Guard are there, you've got them, you've got local police. So there are all these different agencies that are working in the same place with the same basic goal, where they should have, which is to keep each other safe, to keep citizens safe, and to also execute the policy, which is to find and arrest people who are here illegally and for whom they have reason to take into custody. So I think he may be talking about that confusion on the ground, which could be maybe more streamlined, and it could be more clear who exactly has the authority at every given stage of operations.
Yeah, that makes sense when you're bringing resources from a lot of different places and a lot of different departments where they might fall into their traditional chain of command, but you can see why that would be important to integrate them into one operational workflow. And as we finished up, Simon, Homan had said that while they don't agree on everything, that he had established with the local leaders a joint focus on public safety. That's where they found the common ground. Do you see any evidence that outside agitators or outside influences used this as an opportunity to achieve the levels of chaos that were achieved on the ground, which of course endangered both the law enforcement agents as well as the peaceful protesters?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of interesting reporting on this. You've got in these protests / riots a mix of people from genuine, but I would say uninformed locals. Minneapolis is a pretty far left city, so there's a lot of people with far left political opinions that they're entitled to have. But then you've also got a hardcore of activists who, frankly, are part of the Omni cause. I mean, they're out there. If they weren't protesting ICE, they'd be protesting capitalism, or they'd be protesting Israel, or one of the many things that they want to protest. And they're well funded. We've seen some professional agitators. We've had them here in Washington who get paid to go out by the day and protest. And they've got organizational groups and manuals. They've got signal chat groups. They're not Delta Force, but they are for left-wing agitators, pretty well organized. They're not completely random. And we've seen that in the BLM riots. We've seen that through the autonomous zone in Seattle. There are always professional, well-paid, well-funded, and well-equipped agitators who either glom onto or try to lead local protests.
Well, I appreciate you breaking that down in your analysis this morning. Simon Hankinson, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
And of course, as the Trump administration has announced investigations in that direction, there may be more revelations to come, and we'll be reporting back to you on that, if there is. But next, new information coming in about an alleged illegal biolab in Las Vegas.
Yeah, this property's former cleaning employee says that multiple people who spent time inside that house, they fell ill. And that's according to newly released court documents.
So police say the cleaner actually reported seeing lab-style equipment, chemical containers, and refrigerators inside a locked garage, along with a strong hospital-like odor. Not only that, but she told investigators that she and a handyman became, quote, deathly ill. She said days after entering that space, they were suffering breathing problems, fatigue, muscle aches. And the cleaner also said that several guests and residents got sick, including one person who was hospitalized with severe respiratory issues.
Authorities have arrested the property manager, and they sent more than 1,000 suspected biological agents away for testing as this investigation continues. Investigators say the Las Vegas home is owned by a Chinese national who is already in federal custody in connection with the unauthorized lab that was uncovered in California back in 2023.
And turning now back to Minnesota, a Senate subcommittee heard testimony yesterday on allegations of large-scale fraud in that state and the state's social service programs.
NTD's Arlene Richards has some of the key takeaways.
We will explain how the fraud actually took place, the mechanics by which these schemes operated, and the very real harms they inflicted, not only on taxpayers, but on vulnerable children and on law-abiding Somali families whose trusts and identities were exploited.
Republican Senator Ted Cruz kicked off a hearing on Wednesday that examined allegations of massive fraud in Minnesota's social services programs. He partially blamed Minnesota Democrats for what he called deliberately turning a blind eye. A federal probe into the alleged fraud was triggered after 23-year-old independent journalist Nick Shirley published a report saying that multiple daycare centers in Minneapolis, run by members of the Somali community, were fraudulently collecting millions in government aid.
So I know Minneapolis very well. Most notably, the enormous number of child care facilities that had opened up. I would drive around the Twin Cities, and it seemed these child care facilities were literally on every block.
Independent investigative journalist David Hoke worked with Shirley. He said the fraud is easily in excess of $30 billion. Public affairs activist Robert Weissman said there was no evidence to support that estimate.
Unfortunately, the reality is the Trump administration is systematically dismantling the anti-fraud programs of the federal government.
Meanwhile, Hoke said the way to fix this is for the federal government to go into Minnesota agencies and arrest those who commit fraud. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Now that lawmakers have ended the partial government shutdown, the clock is ticking on DHS funding. Democrats are expected to unveil their proposed changes today, while Border Czar Tom Homan has announced a drawdown of ICE agents in Minnesota. NTD's Melina Weisskopf joins us live. Good morning, Melina. Where do negotiations stand at the moment?
Hey, good morning, Steph. Good to see you again. It's been quite some time.
It has.
So negotiations are at the very beginning stages right now. Yeah. Lawmakers do need to reach a deal by February 13th. That's next week. But they are acknowledging already that this is not going to be an easy task, Steph, because of how sensitive the immigration issue is to both sides of the aisle. Democrats, like you mentioned, unveiled a list on paper with their demands. Today, that official bill language is expected to be unveiled. But their demands that were on paper track with everything that we've heard verbally so far from their side of the aisle. Things like asking agents to remove their masks and requiring them to show their ID numbers. They also want to expand judicial warrants and to protect sensitive locations. I'll let you listen quickly to what Senator Schumer yesterday when they unveiled their demands.
There are certain places they shouldn't be able to go in, churches, synagogues, schools, election places. There should be no racial profiling.
Now, while Republicans have said they are open to certain changes, there are certain sticking points on the Republican side. For example, many Republicans have been weary of the request on the masks and the ID issue because they say that this would create a level of exposure that could allow criminals to target agents and their families. Here's Speaker Johnson as well as Pete Sessions, another Republican from Texas.
Because unlike your local law enforcement in your hometown, ICE agents are being doxxed and targeted. We have evidence of that. Everybody knows that is happening.
a professional conduct on duty, but not to be harassed when they go back home or their families. So I think that correspondingly it would be a fair thing.
Now, as for the judicial warrant, Steph, there's also strong pushback from at least House Speaker Mike Johnson on this, because he said multiple times that expanding these judicial warrants would create more red tape and bureaucracy and ultimately slow enforcement efforts. So the fact that Republicans are already sort of drawing red lines on issues like this is going to be interesting to see where negotiations go from here, because it's looking like there's already very little give and take from both sides of the aisle, Steph.
So, Melina, do you think that the Trump administration's drawdown of some agents in Minnesota will be enough to pave the way for a quick bipartisan plan?
I think it's possible, but lawmakers say that it will be difficult, even so much as Senate Leader John Thune yesterday saying that they may need even to have a full-year funding bill, a full-year continuing resolution for the Department of Homeland Security to give ample time for these negotiations to unfold. He said that he long opposed the 2-week deadline. Listen to Thune.
I had argued at the time was way too short to allow anything consequential to happen. What I hope it doesn't devolve into is something that, makes it harder, not easier, to deport and detain dangerous illegal aliens in this country.
So with the Trump administration going ahead and taking these actions with Border Czar Tom Homan, with requiring them to already wear body cameras or moving those agents from Minnesota, that could enable, open a pathway for Democrats to be more open to what Republicans are willing to negotiate here. But I think ultimately you could face a math issue, because remember, both chambers have a very slim majority, which means that at any one time there could be just one lawmaker holding up these negotiations and stopping them in their tracks, Steph.
Yeah, certainly looks like it could be down to the wire. Thanks so much for your updates this morning. NTD congressional correspondent Melina Weisskopf. All right, and yeah, there's actually so much development even now. We're going to have much more throughout the day as well for you. But President Trump will be attending the National Prayer Breakfast later this morning, and that's where he's expected to give remarks. We'll be reporting on that too as it happens.
Absolutely, we'll bring that to you live. Of course, every president has participated in that regardless of party affiliation since it was founded, going back to the 50s. So we'll be looking for that. And up ahead, the U.S. and Iran, they're going to hold their talks tomorrow in Oman. What President Trump is saying as the two nations still very much at odds. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I trod on my glasses yesterday, and I had to pay up front for a new pair that I can't even pick up for another 10 days. So I looked for another way, and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning, and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options only at selectspecs.com.
I'm Amy Grant, and I want to talk to you from my heart about the heart. I would have been the last person on the list to say this woman has a problem with her heart. So no, there was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. I wound up in the office of a cardiologist because I was there with my husband. And at the tail end of that, the cardiologist looked at me and said, I want to see you. No one was more surprised than I was to learn I was living with a rare heart condition. He said, Amy, this condition, you'll be fine, and then catastrophic. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. And I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. That's why I'm asking you to join me and become a monthly donor to the American Heart Association. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR, and get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. If this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, but your support can save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card and we'll send you this special t-shirt you can wear to show you're part of a community of monthly donors working to help save more lives like mine. I'm grateful for the American Heart Association. Their research gave me more time to do the things I love with the people I love. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor and help save even more lives. Thank you.
Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretane Black Ginseng. Crafted from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng, each root is carefully nurtured for over 2,260 days, undergoing a traditional 9-round handcrafted process of steaming and drying to unlock full potency and absorption. Experience pure, natural energy with Puretane Black Ginseng. Order now at puretane.com.
Welcome back to NTD. Good morning. The Trump administration is racing to break the Chinese Communist Party's dominance over the critical minerals needed to power our everyday lives in America.
That's right. NTD's Washington correspondent Mari Otsu has more on that, plus President Trump's phone call with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping.
President Trump describes his call with CCP leader Xi Jinping as, quote, long and thorough, covering many topics, among them Iran, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, trade, and the president's upcoming visit to China in April. The president says that Xi Jinping is considering upping his U.S. soybean purchases from 12 million to 20 million metric tons this season and to 25 million tons next season. However, past deals with the CCP have proved fragile, like the October trade truce reached back in Busan, South Korea. After months of zero U.S. soybean purchases from China, China only met that 12 million ton goal barely after repeated delays and extensions, highlighting the risk that CCP commitments may be reneged or eroded. And the Trump-Xi call also comes as Washington today hosts a summit, a global summit to challenge China's critical minerals monopoly. And just 2 days after President Trump signed an executive order launching a $12 billion critical mineral stockpile called Project Vault. Take a look.
That's the key goal of a critical mineral supply, and today it's heavily concentrated in the hands of one country. And that lends itself to, at worst case scenario, being used as a tool of leverage in geopolitics, but it also lends itself to any sort of disruption.
China has got a stranglehold. They can control anywhere between 85 to 100% of the top 20 critical minerals. This is a threat not just to the U.S., but to the whole world.
Over 55 countries are attending the summit, with half expressing interest in joining a, quote, preferential trade zone that will establish price floors for critical minerals. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the goal is to prevent the kind of disruption that comes with a market monopoly, or that monopoly being used as leverage against other countries. This set pricing mechanism would counter the Chinese regime's predatory pricing practices that drove global rare earths miners and processors out of business years ago.
In the 90s, that the Chinese Communist Party, where China was given kind of like the open door to corner this market, and it was by design. At the same time, they would drive in a dependency of their potential adversaries in the Western world, notably the United States.
National security concerns became more urgent last year when Beijing imposed export controls on rare earths, causing production delays and shutdowns for auto manufacturers in America and Europe.
Every single one of us represented in this room has become dependent on arrangements we did not choose. We all face the same vulnerability: access to the things that protect our people and sustain our way of life sometimes can vanish in the blink of an eye without any control or influence from many of the countries in this room.
And the White House has confirmed that talks with Iran are set for tomorrow. The meeting in Oman comes amid heightened tensions over Iran's nuclear program and a U.S. buildup in the region. A White House official told the Epoch Times the meeting was rescheduled after Arab leaders urged the Trump administration not to pull out of talks. Washington and Tehran remain at odds over the scope of negotiations. The U.S. has insisted on Tehran's missile arsenal being part of the discussion, while Iran's leadership has vowed only to discuss its nuclear program. Speaking to ABC, President Trump said Iran's supreme leader should be, in his words, very worried. He said if the U.S. hadn't taken out Iran's nuclear facilities last year, they would have produced a nuclear weapon within a month.
And the second day of Ukraine peace talks are underway in Abu Dhabi. U.S. officials are meeting with representatives from both Russia and Ukraine. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said yesterday that negotiation teams had agreed on another prisoner swap in the near future. This was confirmed this morning by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who said delegations from the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia have agreed to exchange 314 prisoners, the first such exchange in 5 months. In a post on X, Witkoff said that the outcome was achieved from detailed and productive talks. He said significant work still remains, adding that steps like this demonstrate that diplomatic engagement is delivering results and advancing efforts to end the war. He said discussions will continue with additional progress anticipated here in the coming weeks.
And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is back on Capitol Hill today to testify before the Senate.
Today's hearing comes after a fiery hearing in the House yesterday where Bessent defended the Trump administration's plan to cut regulations and build up Main Street. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more on that.
In 2006, I take that as a no. You traveled to Venezuela. I take that as a no. Stop covering for the president. Don't be a fucking.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent testifying before the House Financial Services Committee on Wednesday, a hearing that at times got pretty heated.
For the American people, don't be a cover-up for a mob.
Maybe you're going to see your friend Nicholas Maduro in Brooklyn is not prison. Recognized.
Bessent made it clear that the Trump administration's going full speed ahead on cutting regulations for small and community banks. The goal? Make it easier for home buyers and small business owners and farmers to actually get the loans they need.
Small banks became too small to succeed.
Bessent says small banks are the primary lenders to middle-class Americans. Boosting their lending power and slashing the red tape is absolutely essential. More than 55% of community banks have vanished since the 2008 financial crisis. Now, this lines right up on his annual report on the Financial Stability Oversight Council, which he's presenting to both chambers of Congress this week. And things got testy, especially when tariffs came up.
Are tariffs inflationary? Yes or no?
According to the San Francisco Federal Reserve, with 150 years of data,
yes or no?
Tariffs do not cause inflation. Lumber is
reclaiming my time. You don't get to talk.
Lumber is at a 5-year low, Congresswoman.
Reclaiming my time.
That the mass unfettered immigration, adding 10 to 20 million new people demanding housing, Congresswoman, is what caused a great deal of housing inflation for working Americans.
Bessent also touted President Trump's other policies like deregulation and those $1,000 Trump savings accounts for newborns.
How will these Trump accounts impact this new generation of Americans' view of financial independence versus socialism?
History would show that people who own a piece of the action do not want to bring down the system when you are part of the system. The goal here should be to have everyone own a piece of the American economic engine.
Bessent also made clear two big priorities for the administration: cracking down on Chinese money laundering and cutting off funding that supports China's military.
We were very focused on Chinese money laundering organizations, which originally began as a way for Chinese citizens to get money out of the country. As China clamped down on the leakage, they morphed into partners with the Mexican drug cartels.
Reporting by Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And new campaign finance disclosures over the weekend showed that President Trump has raised $26 million through his joint fundraising committee in the second half of last year, and another $8 million directly into his leadership PAC. And the Trump-aligned MAGA Incorporated Super PAC, well, it ended 2025 with more than $300 million on hand. Joining us to discuss the president's war chest and its goals for the midterms is Angie Wong. She's a Republican strategist as well as a political columnist. Great to see you, Angie. Good morning. How is Trump's campaign war chest? How does that signal a change from previous second-term presidents going into the midterms?
Good morning, Carrie. Yes, this is great news. You know, having a very full war chest is exactly what we need to kind of break the spell of what happens during midterms with presidents. Usually, traditionally, and historically, the president usually loses at least the House or the Senate. And that's what, the timeline has said. But I think President Trump is going to do everything he possibly can to make sure that he has a full 4-year presidency where there are no hiccups in the House or with the Senate, and that, the Republicans control all three branches. So for him to now shore up the money for it, $26 million in 2025, the last 2 quarters, plus already he had $400 million in the bank cash on hand. That's going to be significant because right now, Democrats, they're actually in the negative. They still owe $17 million from Kamala Harris's run for the U.S. presidency. And also, they didn't really raise that much in the last 2 quarters. We're hearing that the DNC only has $14 million cash on hand, according to FEC reports. This is not great news for Democrats, especially since there's going to be a record number of House retirements this year, 45 seats. 45 seats of retirement, which means that the next Congress is going to have the largest freshman class.
And Angie, just to put things in context a bit, President Trump has courted and entertained many of the top tech CEOs in the White House. It seems like, where they have heavily supported Democrats, they might be, neutral or what have you in the midterms, hard to say. But, there's so much money on the Democrat side as well. Are you saying that it will be hard for them to make up the difference, or do you expect, the people that typically support Democratic causes to come out in sort of a rushed manner going into the midterms so that they can fight fire with fire?
Yeah, what I've noticed with a lot of the kind of tech titans is that they kind of straddle both worlds, right? They do, they donate to Democrats, but they also donate to Republicans. And right now, Democrats are not having a winning message, certainly not in the media. They don't seem to have clear leadership. The party, quite frankly, seems pretty split. It's fractioned off between the far left and kind of the moderate left. And I think Democrats are looking at that, tech titans are looking at that going, well, maybe I should have a footprint in, something outside of Silicon Valley. Maybe I should go to Florida and Texas, which is what we're seeing the migration of. So I think they are kind of straddling both worlds. They're probably going to donate to both. But here's what Elon Musk says. He says he's going to finance the midterm elections for Republicans. That is a huge win because we know that money buys these races, and they really do, because you have to buy so much media in order to get the messaging out and to get the voters out. And this is going to be great, especially towards the last few weeks, months leading up to Election Day, because that's when you really need the emergency funds to do the last minute push to make sure that you get over the finish line.
And if you look at President Trump's successful presidential run, as well as Zohran Mamdani's very successful campaign to win the New York City mayoral race, the tactics are different, but I presume that the overall strategies remain the same. What do you expect from Trump supporting the congressional election races going into, the midterms, which really is going to be kicking off? If it hasn't already, it's going to be kicking off quite soon. What tactically is different, and what do they need to do to win?
Well, Zohran Mamdani ran a really, really interesting race. We're still dissecting it. It was a very smart social media race. His social media team read the algorithms every single day and made sure that whenever he spoke publicly, the candidate, he used those keywords just so that they would go viral. He knew exactly what he was doing. We're starting now to see a lot of local candidates emulate the same kind of SEO structure. That's really important. Also, what Zohran did really well was that he went into high-rise buildings, something that Republicans still need to do. They don't know how to go into the urban areas. They know how to door knock on individual houses, but we really do need to start looking at kind of like the densely urban areas to now go into, because our messaging is right, our policy is right, but getting into the spaces where moderates, independents, and Democrats live, that's something that we need to kind of hone in on. Now, I see Trump's strategy as doing both. He is going to do the traditional campaigning, which is his rallies that he's kicked off in recent weeks, as well as a lot of the kind of technology-driven campaigning that I love to see more and more of. I think that is something that we need to get a better grasp of, because, again, as I said, our messaging, most Americans agree with common sense. That's what we're pushing out. We just need to make sure that everyone hears it, not just Republicans, not just the right. And I think that's going to be the major challenge of 2026.
Well, we're already covering it. I know it's just going to continue to heat up. Really appreciate your analysis this morning, and good to see you, Angie Wong.
Nice to see you.
And up ahead, measles cases rising across the Americas, with Mexico reporting the most. Over 1,000 cases have been confirmed so far in the U.S., Canada, and 5 other countries. We have that and more. We'll be right back.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste, and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth, without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
Shop Mathis Home and save during the annual clearance event for huge discounts on all the latest styles. Here's a great value. This sofa from Ashley is a bestseller. It's just $4.99 and comes with 2 accent pillows. Upgrade to Motion with this sofa that has plush pillow top arms and 2 recliners built in. Clearance priced at just $7.99. They're in stock now with fast free delivery. For the best value, come to the annual clearance event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Welcome back to NTD Good Morning. I'm Carrie Dunst. If you're just joining us now, here are some of today's top headlines. NBC anchor Savannah Guthrie is pleading for the safe return of her 84-year-old mother who disappeared from her Arizona home. In an emotional message, the family said they are ready to talk to whomever is holding Nancy Guthrie. Investigators say they are sure that she did not leave on her own, and they're treating the case as an abduction. President Trump says federal law enforcement is now assisting as well. And the Trump administration says immigration enforcement is being adjusted, not reduced. They're citing increased cooperation with local law enforcement in Minnesota, and DHS reports thousands of arrests under Operation Metro Surge. Meanwhile, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited the southern border, saying the Trump administration has delivered the most secure border in American history. And court documents reveal multiple people fell ill after spending time in a Las Vegas home that's suspected of housing an illegal biological lab. A former cleaner reported seeing lab equipment, chemicals, and a strong hospital-like odor in a locked garage. She says she and a handyman became seriously ill, and several residents and guests also suffered symptoms, including one hospitalization. And after ending the partial government shutdown, the clock is now ticking for DHS funding. Democrats unveiled a list yesterday with demands including no mask wearing, the need for judicial warrants, and for federal agents to wear body cams. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said body cameras are now being deployed, but Republicans say they are open to certain changes, but not all, including the wearing of masks. They say this type of exposure could allow criminals to target not only agents, but also their families. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says it's possible lawmakers will need another extension for DHS funding to give more time for these negotiations. Those are this morning's top headlines. With that, Steph, over to you.
Thank you, Carrie. Next, allegations of racial discrimination against white workers. Nike is now facing an investigation. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is seeking a federal court order to probe alleged discrimination as part of Nike's DEI programs. And the commission said it is investigating whether Nike intentionally discriminated against white employees and job applicants, including by disproportionately targeting them for layoffs. It said Nike had refused to comply with a previous subpoena seeking information such as data on the racial and ethnic makeup of the company's workforce and a roster of employees chosen for mentoring and development programs. A Nike spokesperson called the filing a surprising and unusual escalation, saying the company is cooperating with the commission and has provided thousands of pages of information.
And health authorities across the Americas are raising an alert after this surge in measles cases. Mexico is reporting the highest number so far. They've got more than 1,000 cases confirmed in the first 3 weeks of the year across 7 countries, including the U.S. and Canada. No deaths have been reported. Health officials, they're monitoring hotspots closely, including South Carolina and parts of Mexico. They're urging residents to ensure their vaccinations are up to date on measles vaccinations. Now, the Pan American Health Organization says gaps in immunization are what's driving the rise, especially among children under 1 and adolescents. Some experts blame declining vaccination rates on the COVID pandemic response. Authorities advise anyone who may have come into contact with the virus to monitor for symptoms and consult healthcare providers. And up ahead, America's 250th birthday celebration will be featured at this year's Super Bowl. What the America 250 Commission has in store. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I can't get a hold of my mom.
I'm sure it's nothing.
I've called her 5 times.
I'm sure she's fine.
Is Grandma okay? Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
Don't worry, ma'am. We're sending help right now.
Hello?
Hello, this is Life Alert. Your mother had an emergency, and we dispatched paramedics to her home.
Oh my gosh, what happened?
She had a fall, but don't worry. She is safe, and the paramedics are helping her right now.
Thank you.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes. With one simple touch of a button, Life Alert sends help immediately. Whether it's to report a fall, a medical emergency, or an intruder, Life Alert sends first responders fast.
For a free brochure, call 800-382-9846. 800-382-9846. That's 800-382-9846.
I'm Amy Grant, and I want to talk to you from my heart about the heart. I would have been the last person on the list to say this woman has a problem with her heart. So no, there was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. I wound up in the office of a cardiologist because I was there with my husband. And at the tail end of that, the cardiologist looked at me and said, I want to see you. No one was more surprised than I was to learn I was living with a rare heart condition. He said, Amy, this condition, you'll be fine, and then catastrophic. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. And I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. That's why I'm asking you to join me and become a monthly donor to the American Heart Association. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR, and get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. If this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, but your support can save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card and we'll send you this special t-shirt you can wear to show you're part of a community of monthly donors working to help save more lives like mine. I'm grateful for the American Heart Association. Their research gave me more time to do the things I love with the people I love. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor and help save even more lives. Thank you.
And the U.S. Coast Guard is ramping up security for Super Bowl week. They gave an update yesterday on those efforts. NTD's David Lamb has that story from San Francisco.
The U.S. Coast Guard is already increasing presence on the waterways and assisting in a safe Super Bowl 60. As with large events like the Super Bowl, they want to make sure there are no bad actors, crime, as well as negligent boating incidents.
Overall, the Coast Guard is ready to support the public and participants during the Super Bowl festivities, February 3rd to 8th, working with our port partners to maintain situational awareness and promote safe events throughout the week.
With the backdrop of a sunny day and cool air from the Pacific Ocean, Coast Guard officials say their team is well-versed and practiced, and their Super Bowl support is a more robust and augmented form of their daily duties. Support includes K-9 units, boat operators, and the Pacific Strike Team to handle any hazardous materials.
So it's just if there were to be any sort of hazmat incident, we're available to help clean our first responders and help them either go home or get back to work within the stadium or the event.
So this is what we call a level A suit. So this would be for an incident involving hazards that to your breathing and to your skin, and so we would wear a full face mask, boots, and a protective suit.
There's also a drone restriction in the area.
If there are incursions, we either use our equipment to stop that drone or we send ground units working with local police and our own operators to enforce the TFR.
The U.S. Coast Guard's motto is Semper Paratus, which means always ready. And as of Wednesday, they said there are no specific threats to the Super Bowl. Reporting in San Francisco, California, David Lamb, NTD News.
And thanks to Daniel for that report. While there's been a lot of attention on the halftime show, this year's Super Bowl will also celebrate America's 250th birthday.
That's right. The America 250 Commission has partnered with the NFL to weave elements of the celebration throughout the event.
Of course, that was David.
It was a great way to get the word out about America 250. So we were featured on the footballs, featured on the coin toss. So here it is here. America 250 on the heads, NFL logo as the tails. We're stenciled on the sidelines. Our flag was rolled out on the field along with the American flag, and we have lots more planned for the Super Bowl.
Very exciting. Super Bowl week kicked off in San Francisco on Tuesday with the Super Bowl Experience opening to fans. During the event, fans could enter an America 250 Airstream and record their own American story.
On the 4th of July, the organization will bury a time capsule for 250 years. That will include various items from the 60th Super Bowl. America 250 Chair Rosie Rios said Americans can expect several events leading up to Independence Day, or as she put it, quote, "We're rolling up into July 4th with America's ultimate block party."
All right, not everybody is looking forward to the Super Bowl this Sunday. Some fans are getting excited for this year's Puppy Bowl instead, and I think that might include you, Carrie.
I like the Puppy Bowl. I'm more of a Super Bowl guy,
Okay.
but I love the Puppy Bowl. Yeah, so we've got Team Fluff as well as Team Rough. They'll feature a brand new roster of cute pups to take part in some pre-football action.
So cute. This year, the Puppy Bowl will also feature a halftime showdown between older dogs, Team Oldies, and Team Goldies, a reminder that senior dogs deserve love and adoption as well.
That's right. The Puppy Bowl 22 will feature 150 different dogs from 72 different shelters across the U.S., Puerto Rico, as well as the British Virgin Islands.
And I look forward to some footage from that event, but we'll be bringing that to you later. So if you have any feedback on the show or have something you'd like to see us cover, be sure to send us an email at goodmorning@ntd.com. That's all we have time for now, but you know we always love to hear from you.
That's right. For round-the-clock original news coverage, watch us live at ntd.com/live or use our NTD app. Thanks for watching. I'm Carrie Dunst.
I'm Stephanie Cox. See you soon.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritan green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9. The highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritan green vegetable omega-3.
This is such a gentle painting, so beautifully portrayed.
A group of people reading together in this simple, everyday-looking living room. A young girl reading along with an adult, a grandparent sitting in the lotus position, a businessman in his typical suit.
You see all those people, they look like they have quietly settled down there. And you as a viewer, it looks like you've just stepped in the door.
You can't see what it is they're reading, so you're a little bit curious and you're kind of invited to walk in.
This harmonious feeling is not by accident. It is the very subject of the work. The book they are reading is the main text of Falun Gong, which is an ancient Chinese spiritual discipline in the Buddhist tradition. At the core of Falun Gong are the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Unfortunately, the practice is banned in China, where the artist resides. Thousands have been killed for their faith. Golden energy blooms into the room as a result of their steadfast faith. The painting on the back wall reminds us of this work's title, Plum Blossoms in a Muddy World.
It's also a metaphor for the practitioners that are sitting in the room as plum blossoms.
They signify perseverance and hope that all brutal winters end and life is renewed once again.
It's a magical painting.
I'm Tiffany Meyer on NTD Evening News tonight. After a fiery hearing before House lawmakers yesterday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent appearing today before the Senate Banking Committee on Financial Oversight. How he responds to lawmakers who press him on President Trump's financial policies. This comes as we await a Supreme Court decision on the president's tariffs. That's tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on NTD.
Welcome to NTD Good Morning.
Here are today's top stories. Federal authorities are joining the search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. Her daughter, NBC anchor Savannah Guthrie, has uploaded a video addressed to whomever is holding her mother captive.
Immigration enforcement in focus. President Trump says 5 new cities are being considered for operations as he discusses the need for better public relations. And Secretary Kristi Noem visits the southern border.
Illnesses are being linked to a suspected illegal biolab in a Las Vegas home. Police say multiple people fell sick as investigators test more than 1,000 samples.
We're going to speak with a woman from Texas who witnessed human trafficking and decided to take action to stop this scourge. Learn more about her organization, Rescue Her.
This is NTD Good Morning. Live from our global headquarters in New York City, here are Stephanie Cox and Carrie Dunst.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Today is Thursday, February 5th. You're watching NTD Good Morning. In today's top news, the search for NBC anchor Savannah Guthrie's 84-year-old mother continues.
The family is now speaking directly to whomever may be holding Nancy Guthrie. Here's the latest on that.
Today's Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie posted a video message yesterday addressing anyone who might be holding her elderly mother.
Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile.
Nancy Guthrie disappeared from her Arizona home several days ago. In the message posted to Instagram, the NBC co-host spoke to the potential captors directly.
As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk.
Savannah, who appeared with her brother and sister, said the family had heard media reports of a ransom note, but said it was an age in which such material can be faked.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please, reach out to us.
The siblings spoke directly to their missing mother, calling her their beacon.
Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you.
President Trump said he spoke with Savannah Guthrie yesterday. In a Truth Social post, the president said he's directing all federal law enforcement to be at the family's and local police department's disposal. Nancy Guthrie was last seen on January 31st when she was dropped off at her home by relatives after having dinner with them. Authorities say she was reported missing the following afternoon. Police have cordoned off her home. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos told CBS that Nancy Guthrie could not have walked away from her home and that he believed she was abducted. He told reporters this was not dementia-related and that the elderly Guthrie is as sharp as a tack. He noted Guthrie had limited mobility and she was taking medication daily. As of now, no suspect has been identified.
And Sheriff Nanos will be holding a press conference later today. We'll bring that to you live. Of course, our hearts and prayers go out to the Guthrie family at this very difficult moment.
Certainly so. And next, we will take a look at immigration enforcement. President Trump signaling that immigration officials are adapting their techniques amid heightened tensions.
NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on that and an update from the southern border with DHS Secretary Kristi Noem.
The Trump administration is reducing the number of immigration officers in Minnesota due to increased cooperation with local law enforcement.
Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately we will draw down 700 people.
Border Czar Tom Homan said it is smarter enforcement, not less. President Trump discussing enforcement operations in Minnesota.
I learned that maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hard criminals.
Trump says he has called Governor Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Fry and had great conversations with them.
And then I see them ranting and raving out there, literally as though a call wasn't made.
Trump called the shooting deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good unfortunate, speaking on NBC News.
He was not an angel, and she was not an angel. You know, you look at some tapes from back, but still, I'm not happy with what happened there. Nobody could be happy, and ICE wasn't happy either.
And the president says they have 5 cities his administration is strongly considering for new enforcement operations, but they prefer to be invited.
We could have Chicago be a safe city, just like D.C. is a safe city, just like all of these places that we've gone to.
The Department of Homeland Security said yesterday 4,000 illegal immigrants, including violent criminals, have been arrested so far in Minnesota under Operation Metro Surge. Recent arrests include criminals convicted of sexual conduct with a minor and domestic assault. President Trump praised DHS Secretary Kristi Noem when asked if she still has his confidence.
Look, she was in charge of the border. The border's closed. We have the best crime numbers that we've had in 125 years. I think she's doing a very good job. Again, public relations. She's not getting credit for the job that she does.
Noem visited the southern border yesterday, saying the Trump administration has delivered the most secure border in American history.
And we did it with the immediate aftermath we were facing from that humanitarian crisis that was created from Joe Biden's open border policies.
Noem says the border is so quiet that sometimes you can even forget how bad it was just a little over a year ago.
During the Biden administration and those open border policies, we saw even the UN declare that the United States and Mexico border was the deadliest land route in the world.
Noem says some counties along the border had to install migrant morgues just to pick up the dead bodies that were passing away.
And while the left tries to tell us many times that it's somehow compassionate to allow that kind of chaos, it isn't. It was dangerous.
The Homeland Security Secretary criticized those against enforcing immigration laws and deporting illegal immigrant criminals, saying, "What about the victims of their crimes?" Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Secretary Kristi Noem says a person accused of leaking information from the Department of Homeland Security has been caught. She said the leaker put law enforcement at risk and has not named the individual.
In a post on X, Noem said the department would track down leakers and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, regardless of standing or political appointment. Noem said there has been an 8,000% increase in death threats against federal agents over the last few months.
And new information is coming in about an alleged illegal biolab in Las Vegas.
Yeah, very concerning. Now, the property's former cleaning employee says that multiple people who spent time inside the house, they fell ill. And that's according to newly released court documents.
Police say the cleaner reported seeing lab-style equipment, chemical containers, and refrigerators inside a locked garage, along with a strong hospital-like odor. She told investigators that she and a handyman became, quote, deathly ill. She said days after entering that space, they were suffering breathing problems, fatigue, and muscle aches. And the cleaner also said several guests and residents got sick, including one person who was hospitalized with severe respiratory issues.
Now, authorities have arrested the property manager, and they sent more than 1,000 suspected biological agents away to get those samples tested as the investigation continues. Now, investigators say the lab, this particular Las Vegas lab, the home is owned by a Chinese national, and that's the one who's already in federal custody in connection with the unauthorized lab that was uncovered in California back in 2023. So the extent of this, unknown at this point.
Now that lawmakers have ended the partial government shutdown, the clock is ticking on DHS funding. Democrats are expected to unveil their proposed changes today. While Border Czar Tom Homan has announced a drawdown of ICE agents in Minnesota. NTD's Melina Weisskopf joins us live. Good morning, Melina. Where do negotiations stand at the moment?
Hey, good morning, Steph. Good to see you again. It's been quite some time.
It has.
So negotiations are at the very beginning stages right now. Yeah. Lawmakers do need to reach a deal by February 13th. That's next week. But they are acknowledging already that this is not going to be an easy task, Steph, because of how sensitive the immigration issue is to both sides of the aisle. Democrats, like you mentioned, unveiled a list on paper with their demands. Today, that official bill language is expected to be unveiled. But their demands that were on paper track with everything that we've heard verbally so far from their side of the aisle, things like asking agents to remove their masks and requiring them to show their ID numbers. They also want to expand judicial warrants and to protect sensitive locations. I'll let you listen quickly to what Senator Schumer yesterday when they unveiled their demands.
There are certain places they shouldn't be able to go in, churches, synagogues, schools, election places. There should be no racial profiling.
Now, while Republicans have said they are open to certain changes, there are certain sticking points on the Republican side. For example, many Republicans have been weary of the request on the masks and the ID issue because they say that this would create a level of exposure that could allow criminals to target agents and their families. Here's Speaker Johnson as well as Pete Sessions, another Republican from Texas.
Because unlike your local law enforcement in your hometown, ICE agents are being doxxed and targeted. We have evidence of that. Everybody knows that is happening.
A professional conduct on duty, but not to be harassed when they go back home or their families. So I think that correspondingly it would be a fair thing.
Now, as for the judicial warrant, Steph, there's also strong pushback from at least House Speaker Mike Johnson on this because he said multiple times that expanding these judicial warrants would create more red tape and bureaucracy and ultimately slow enforcement efforts. So the fact that Republicans are already sort of drawing red lines on issues like this is going to be interesting to see where negotiations go from here because it's looking like there's already very little give and take from both sides of the aisle, Steph.
So, Melina, do you think that the Trump administration's drawdown of some agents in Minnesota will be enough to pave the way for a quick bipartisan plan?
I think it's possible, but lawmakers say that it will be difficult, even so much as Senate Leader John Thune yesterday saying that they may need even to have a full-year funding bill, a full-year continuing resolution for the Department of Homeland Security to give ample time for these negotiations to unfold. He said that he long opposed the 2-week deadline. Listen to Thune.
I had argued at the time was way too short to allow anything consequential to happen. What I hope it doesn't devolve into is something that, makes it harder, not easier, to deport and detain dangerous illegal aliens in this country.
So with the Trump administration going ahead and taking these actions with border czar Tom Homan, with requiring them to already wear body cameras or moving those agents from Minnesota, that could enable, open a pathway for Democrats to be more open to what Republicans are willing to negotiate here. But I think ultimately you could face a math issue because remember, both chambers have a very slim majority, which means that at any one time there could be just one lawmaker holding up these negotiations and stopping them in their tracks, Steph.
Yeah, certainly looks like it could be down to the wire. Thanks so much for your updates this morning. NTD congressional correspondent Melina Weisskopf. And President Trump will be attending the National Prayer Breakfast later this morning where he's expected to give remarks.
The National Prayer Breakfast Foundation was founded in 1953, and every president, regardless of party or religion, has joined since then.
We'll be covering that event live here on NTD Good Morning, so stay tuned for that. And up ahead, sex trafficking in the U.S. is a widespread, underreported crime, and the demand is only growing. But there are people out there making strides in combating this horrendous crime. Josie Carignan, the founder of an organization called Rescue Her, is joining us in studio. Stay tuned for that.
I was a young dad of 3 amazing kids. I was finally following my dreams. Just when you feel like life is starting to come together, you get kind of hit in the face. I was born with a congenital heart defect and had open heart surgery as a kid. I was supposed to go to the heart doctor once a year, and I finally went. He listened to my heart, and I'll never forget, he sat back and he said, yeah, it's time for open heart surgery, or you risk your aorta rupturing, and that's it. I was scared out of my mind. The night before my open heart surgery, I made a goodbye video for my kids. Be strong. Take care of your mom. I love you guys.
Seeing, all the kids hug him goodbye and hoping that they were going to be able to hug him again.
I love you. But I did make it, thanks to the work of the American Heart Association. So that's why I'm asking you to join me. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help get the next person trained in CPR, get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care, as well as fund the next medical breakthrough like these heart valves that helped save my life. When you give $19 a month with your credit card, we'll send you this special t-shirt to show you're a part of our community of monthly donors.
I'm most grateful that I get to have a husband that I get to grow old with, and a husband that gets to be there for his children.
I believe without the American Heart Association, I would not be here today. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. Your donation can literally help save a life. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. My name is Ariel, and my entire life changed when I took a chance and I got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
So Ariel, we made this here just for you. It has notes from other people that are here. Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Welcome back to NTD. Good morning. The Trump administration is racing to break the Chinese Communist Party's dominance over the critical minerals needed to power our everyday lives in America.
NTD's Washington correspondent Mari Otsu has more on that, plus the President Trump's phone call with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping.
President Trump describes his call with CCP leader Xi Jinping as, quote, long and thorough, covering many topics, among them Iran, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, trade, and the president's upcoming visit to China in April. The president says that Xi Jinping is considering upping his U.S. soybean purchases from 12 million to 20 million metric tons this season and to 25 million tons next season. However, past deals with the CCP have proved fragile, like the October trade truce reached back in Busan, South Korea. After months of zero U.S. soybean purchases from China, China only met that 12 million ton goal barely after repeated delays and extensions, highlighting the risk that CCP commitments may be reneged or eroded. And the Trump-Xi call also comes as Washington today hosts a summit, a global summit to challenge China's critical minerals monopoly. And just 2 days after President Trump signed an executive order launching a $12 billion critical mineral stockpile called Project Vault. Take a look.
That's the key goal of a critical mineral supply, and today it's heavily concentrated in the hands of one country. And that lends itself to, at worst case scenario, being used as a tool of leverage in geopolitics, but it also lends itself to any sort of disruption.
China has got a stranglehold. They can control anywhere between 85 to 100% of the top 20 critical minerals. This is a threat not just to the U.S., but to the whole world.
Over 55 countries are attending the summit, with half expressing interest in joining a, quote, preferential trade zone that will establish price floors for critical minerals. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the goal is to prevent the kind of disruption that comes with a market monopoly, or that monopoly being used as leverage against other countries. This set pricing mechanism would counter the Chinese regime's predatory pricing practices that drove global rare earths miners and processors out of business years ago.
In the 90s, that the Chinese Communist Party, where China was given kind of like the open door to corner this market, and it was by design. At the same time, they would drive in a dependency of their potential adversaries in the Western world, notably the United States.
National security concerns became more urgent last year when Beijing imposed export controls on rare earths, causing production delays and shutdowns for auto manufacturers in America and Europe.
Every single one of us represented in this room has become dependent on arrangements we did not choose. We all face the same vulnerability: access to the things that protect our people and sustain our way of life sometimes can vanish in the blink of an eye without any control or influence from many of the countries in this room.
And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is back on Capitol Hill today to testify before the Senate.
Today's hearing comes after a fiery hearing and exchange at the House yesterday, where Bessent defended the Trump administration's plan to cut regulations as well as build up Main Street. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more on that.
For the American people, don't be a cover-up for a mob.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent testifying before the House Financial Services Committee on Wednesday, a hearing that at times got pretty heated.
I take that as a no.
You traveled to Venezuela.
I take that as a no. Stop covering for the president.
Bessent made it clear that the Trump administration's going full speed ahead on cutting regulations for small and community banks. The goal? Make it easier for home buyers and small business owners and farmers to actually get the loans they need.
Small banks became too small to succeed.
Bessent says small banks are the primary lenders to middle-class Americans. Boosting their lending power and slashing the red tape is absolutely essential. More than 55% of community banks have vanished since the 2008 financial crisis. Now, this lines right up on his annual report on the Financial Stability Oversight Council, which he's presenting to both chambers of Congress this week. And things got testy, especially when tariffs came up.
Are tariffs inflationary? Yes or no? According to the San Francisco Federal Reserve, with 150 years of data, yes or no? Tariffs do not cause inflation. Lumber is reclaiming my time. You don't get to talk. Lumber is at a 5-year low, Congresswoman. Reclaiming my time. That the mass unfettered immigration, adding 10 to 20 million new people demanding housing, Congresswoman, is what caused a great deal of housing inflation for working Americans.
Bessent also touted President Trump's other policies like deregulation and those $1,000 Trump savings accounts for newborns.
How will these Trump accounts impact this new generation of Americans' view of financial independence versus socialism?
History would show that people who own a piece of the action do not want to bring down the system when you are part of the system. The goal here should be to have everyone own a piece of the American economic engine.
Bessent also made clear two big priorities for the administration: cracking down on Chinese money laundering and cutting off funding that supports China's military.
We were very focused on Chinese money laundering organizations, which originally began as a way for Chinese citizens to get money out of the country. As China clamped down on the leakage, they morphed into partners with the Mexican drug cartels.
Reporting by Jack Bradley, NTD News.
Sex trafficking in the U.S. is a widespread and underreported crime, and the demand is only growing. But there are people out there making strides in combating this horrendous crime. Joining us here in studio is Josie Carignan, the founder of an organization called Rescue Her. Good to have you with us, Josie, and I'm so looking forward to talking about this. You have such an extraordinary story, and the story of this organization is also equally extraordinary. You were a stay-at-home mom when you saw something, noticed something untoward happening, and you decided to do something about it. Tell us the beginnings of this organization, Rescue Her.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I was a stay-at-home mom. I was not an expert in human trafficking. As a matter of fact, when I first encountered trafficking, I hadn't even heard about it. I didn't realize that it was happening. And then I came across a woman, a young woman who had been trafficked across borders. And as I'm hearing her story, I was like, what in the world is this all about? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And through a series of events, our family ended up helping this young woman. And I thought to myself, like, wow, like as if she was the only one. I'm like, we did such a great thing here. Like, we have solved this problem. But you know, when you encounter something, it pops up everywhere all of a sudden. And I started then hearing stories and statistics and seeing it everywhere. And I thought, how has this been happening right under my nose this whole time? And at the time I had 3 kids and my youngest was just going into kindergarten. So I was starting to look at what could I be doing with my time. My kids are in school, and I thought, well, I want to do something about this. I'm a believer, so I felt like God really called me to do this and do something about it. So that's kind of what triggered me to start on this journey of starting Rescue Her.
Amazing, and that is something that I think speaks to a lot of people's take on this very horrendous crime, is they think, oh, it must not be happening near me. I'm not encountering that in any way, but there are lots of red flags, which we'll talk about too. And you've been driving this organization for many years, so I know you've seen a lot and got a lot of insights. Your focus is within the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yes.
Tell us about, What do you encounter? What do you find in terms of human trafficking and sex trafficking just in that area?
Yeah, well, you know, one of the things that people may not know is that it happens everywhere. We tend to think of it as a problem abroad or a problem right around border communities. When I started Rescue Her, I actually lived in a small town with only like 30,000 people. And we moved to DFW later, and obviously the bigger cities have more of a problem. It's no more an issue in DFW than it is in Los Angeles or New York City. Like all of the major cities in the United States have a huge problem, but so did my little town, and I had no idea. So
who's involved as far as you can tell?
Yeah, well, the victims are often vulnerable communities. And across the globe, we have about 50 million victims of trafficking, and that includes labor and sex trafficking. But about 70% of that is sex trafficking, and 70-ish% of that is female. And within the United States, the victims that we encounter through Rescue Her are predominantly U.S. citizens. They were not smuggled in from abroad. They're just vulnerable communities, like underprivileged. Maybe they were in foster care. They were abused as children. And the average age of entry is around 12 years old. Wow. So there are those who prey on and groom young women and gain their trust, and then they exploit them.
How do you find them?
Well, we work together with law enforcement. We have a hotline where people can then call if they see something. Victims themselves can reach out, but we get referrals from law enforcement, from other anti-trafficking organizations. And it's been a long road of just really gaining the trust of and start to collaborate with other organizations. We are now, when I started, I had not heard of any other organizations, and I started with just a little bit, what can I do to help the one, which is really where the name came from, Rescue Her. Because if you think of 50 million, like that is so overwhelming.
Yep.
So what could I possibly do? Like that stat kept running through my head, and I thought, what if I could just help one?
Yep.
It does make a difference for their life. So there are over 40,000 nonprofits in the North Texas area, and we are one of 3 that are a part of the North Texas Trafficking Task Force.
Right. And so people can find out more about your organization at rescueher.org.
Yes.
The hotline number, I don't know if you have it by heart, but
it's only good in DFW. And
okay.
But you should call the National Trafficking Hotline, because then they get routed to us. So that is 24/7. If you see something, say something.
What would you say are some key red flags?
Some key red flags is a person that is not able to make decisions about their own life. They maybe don't have access to money. They may be confused about their surroundings. They don't have any personal items. Or you might just see a demeanor change, because a lot of times it could just happen in a suburb or in a community. You might know somebody that all of a sudden things seem off. So just be on the lookout and then ask questions, and don't put them at risk, but instead call the National Human Trafficking Hotline.
And I do want to talk about what actions your organization takes to help these people.
Yes.
I noticed that a lot of it involves surrounding them with a sense of community, with resources. What do you see as the key issue that they're facing that you can help with?
Yeah, I think one of the misconceptions, which I know when I first started and I didn't have all the information I needed, I thought that if we could just remove them from the situation, if a survivor was taken from their trafficker and rescued, so to speak, then they would be okay. But there's a lot of trauma, and there was a reason why they ended up there in the first place. And so community care and a holistic approach is really, really important. So at Rescue Her, we work with adult victims, and if they are trafficked at 12, that means they have at least 4 years of that trauma, and they need more care. So we do crisis response alongside law enforcement, but we also do advocacy after. And there's no end to how long we'll walk with a victim and a survivor, as long as they need it. So that includes legal, medical, housing, teaching them how to budget, how to get a job, how to reconnect with family, celebrating their birthday, like just normal life, and learning them, giving them a community.
Yeah, and in terms of that ongoing trauma, I noted on your website it had mentioned that human trafficking is unfortunately a highly profitable kind of crime, because a human can be sold over and over and over. And
That is such a sad question and hard to answer because it could be anybody. Like I have found that it's in all walks of life and it's really just so sad. And you're right about the profitability. The over-sexualization of our society drives it. Pornography drives the demand. And then profit is really what keeps the business going. So it's over $200 billion annually that trafficking brings in, which is more than Coke, Netflix, Disney combined.
Wow.
So that's what drives this whole industry.
Yeah, and so you mentioned pornography there. There's tons of social phenomena out there that could be adding to this kind of addiction that would cause this kind of abuse. But you're a pastor as well, I know, and your faith is a large part of your actions here. How do you see the underlying causes behind this scourge?
Well, for me, because like you said, I'm a believer, that's what first drove me to want to help. And I believe that light overcomes darkness on both sides, whether it's the trafficking or the victim. Obviously, we help survivors. But I think the only answer to this, in my opinion, is God. And changing our society from being abusive and over-sexualized and pornography and turning back to being a God-fearing society that cares for one another. I think love is the answer. And I believe that only God can heal a broken heart. And we encounter a lot of brokenness, but there is hope and there's healing. And otherwise we couldn't be in this work that we're doing, because if there was no hope, like, it just is so sad and so tragic.
I do see the love element coming through, and when I look at all the different ways that you help these victims, you know, there's a way that people can contribute where they will sponsor a specific woman who's been through a lot of trauma, and they'll be able to connect with her, send her birthday messages and things like that to just show some warmth alongside the resources that are out there.
Yes, we were trying to make it personal and easy for people to help, because that was for me when I started out, when I was just like, okay, how am I supposed to do something about this? There is something that everybody can do. So we want to make sure that everyone who wants to make a difference can, and it matters so much, even the smallest things. So you can give financially, which goes to all of those needs that the survivors have. And like you said, then you can connect also personally by sending messages or gifts. We just did a Christmas shopping. You know, everybody had their wish list, and we gave them, we throw baby showers. We help with just normal life stuff because they don't have any other community than the support that we provide. So it's very important. You can find all that information. You can become a sponsor. You can donate at rescueher.org, and every bit makes a difference. Wonderful. I will end by saying this, that if you don't think you can make a difference, just take a look, because I think we can all, like, as many victims as there are many more of us who could make a difference and really put a stop to this. Yep. Currently, we have to turn away about 50% of the people that reach out for help because of lack of funds.
Wow.
So it really matters that people take a stand and donate and do what they can.
Absolutely, and I see your love of God, of people, and your Mother Nature coming through here through the work. So
yeah, I have two daughters myself, and that's what made it for me. You know, how can I not help? How can I not help? I have two girls. Like, I started finding out these stories, and I'm like, I can't sleep at night. What if this was one of my girls? Who's helping them? Who's helping them? So.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and your insights, and I wish you all the very best with Rescue Her. Its work is ongoing and will continue, and I wish you all the very best in that.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me and shining a light on this. It really matters.
Thank you so much. Josie Carignan, rescueher.org. And up ahead, the annual National Prayer Breakfast is taking place this morning as President Trump gets ready to give his remarks. We'll bring you the event live here on NTD News. Stay tuned for that.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste, and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth.
without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
This is Pho-licious. Now, what is pho? It's an authentic Vietnamese noodle dish. Pho-licious chicken pho brings the comforting, aromatic flavors of Vietnam to your bowl, and Mama Thu's signature spice blend. Well, this chicken pho is as close to homemade as it gets without the wait. Some cubed chicken, a little lime, and then the magic moment. See you soon, my friends.
Pho-licious is now available at your local Walmart or walmart.com.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
Welcome back. The White House has confirmed that talks with Iran are set for tomorrow. The meeting in Oman comes amid heightened tensions over Iran's nuclear program and U.S. buildup in the region. A White House official told the Epoch Times the meeting was rescheduled after Arab leaders urged the Trump administration not to pull out of talks. Washington and Tehran remain at odds over the scope of negotiations. The U.S. has insisted on Tehran's missile arsenal being part of the discussion, while Iran's leadership has vowed only to discuss its nuclear program. Speaking to ABC, President Trump said Iran's supreme leader should be, in his words, very worried. He said if the U.S. hadn't taken out Iran's nuclear facilities last year, they would have produced a nuclear weapon within a month.
And the second day of Ukraine peace talks are underway in Abu Dhabi. U.S. officials are meeting with representatives from both Russia and Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said yesterday that negotiation teams had agreed on another prisoner swap in the near future. This was also confirmed this morning by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Witkoff said delegations from the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia have agreed to exchange 314 prisoners, the first such exchange in now 5 months. In a post on X, Witkoff said that the outcome was achieved from detailed and productive talks. He said significant work remains, adding that steps like this demonstrate that diplomatic engagement is delivering results and advancing efforts to end the war. He also said discussions will continue with additional progress anticipated in the coming weeks.
And a Senate subcommittee heard testimony yesterday on allegations of large-scale fraud in Minnesota's social service programs.
NTD's Arlene Richards has some of the key takeaways.
We will explain how the fraud actually took place, the mechanics by which these schemes operated, and the very real harms they inflicted, not only on taxpayers, but on vulnerable children and on law-abiding Somali families whose trusts and identities were exploited.
Republican Senator Ted Cruz kicked off a hearing on Wednesday that examined allegations of massive fraud in Minnesota's social services programs. He partially blamed Minnesota Democrats for what he called deliberately turning a blind eye. A federal probe into the alleged fraud was triggered after 23-year-old independent journalist Nick Shirley published a report saying that multiple daycare centers in Minneapolis, run by members of the Somali community, were fraudulently collecting millions in government aid.
So I know Minneapolis very well. Most notably, the enormous number of child care facilities that had opened up. I would drive around the Twin Cities, and it seemed these child care facilities were literally on every block.
Independent investigative journalist David Hoke worked with Shirley. He said the fraud is easily in excess of $30 billion. Public affairs activist Robert Weissman said there was no evidence to support that estimate.
Unfortunately, the reality is the Trump administration is systematically dismantling the anti-fraud programs of the federal government.
Meanwhile, Hoke said the way to fix this is for the federal government to go into Minnesota agencies and arrest those who commit fraud. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
At a House hearing titled Defending Religious Freedom Around the World, lawmakers heard from a variety of witnesses on the topic of religious persecution abroad.
They highlighted the tactics authoritarian regimes use to suppress faith. NTD's Chris Bobb was there and has the story.
At a Capitol Hill hearing Wednesday, former Ambassador-at-Large Sam Brownback told lawmakers that the Chinese Communist Party is leading a global persecution campaign against faith, targeting Christians, Buddhists, Uyghur Muslims, and especially Falun Gong practitioners.
Communist China will spend billions of dollars this year alone to suppress every faith that exists in that country, and they save their greatest anger and bile for the Falun Gong. We should see them as our greatest ally. These are people behind enemy lines that will stand up to the regime, that will stand up to the oppressors, because they overcome their fear with their interior faith. They will fight, even if it means their life.
Brownback says China uses advanced surveillance technology to crush religious freedom.
And literally, it's a war on God. They can find that one person out of 100,000 that will actually lead people against a regime that's driven by their faith. They can pinpoint that person and get him or her.
Brownback urged the U.S. government to more openly support religious leaders targeted by authoritarian regimes.
But you act through these people that are people of faith and back them. Have the Vice President, the Secretary of State, go to Dharamsala, India, and meeting with the Dalai Lama and saying, we are behind you guys. Bring the head of Falun Gong, the gentleman that brought Falun Gong out, who is now exiled in the United States, bring him here and laud them for what they have done in standing up and trying to bring ancient Chinese civilization back.
Dr. Stephen Schneck warned that U.S. programs supporting religious freedom abroad are at risk.
That the programs of USAID, programs at the Department of State, some programs at the U.S. Institute of Peace, Voice of America, these programs, nation-building programs, frankly, have been a critical component of the United States effort to promote religious freedom abroad. So around the world, the funding that the United States government has been providing, that money has largely withered and dried up as a result of the DOGE cuts.
As lawmakers seek to hold the Chinese regime accountable, one bill moving through the Senate is the Falun Gong Protection Act. Passed by the House last May, the legislation now has 8 Senate co-sponsors and targets forced organ harvesting and other systematic abuses against people of faith in China. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Chris Bobb, NTD News.
And thank you, Chris, for that report. Self-driving cars, are they safe? The Senate Commerce Committee heard testimony from Tesla, Waymo, and industry experts.
And as the lawmakers debated safety and concerns, the push for national standards are what's on the table here. Christina Corona brings us more.
Lawmakers heard from Waymo, Tesla, and industry experts Wednesday as the Senate Commerce Committee considered legislation aimed at speeding up development of autonomous vehicles, or AVs. Senator Ted Cruz argued that AV technology could reduce crashes, saying most accidents are caused by humans.
The overwhelming causes of roadway fatalities today are drunk driving and distracted driving. Autonomous technologies never drive drunk. Autonomous technologies, they don't text while driving. They don't change the radio station.
Waymo says its system is about 10 times less likely than human drivers to be involved in a serious injury crash. However, concerns remain after recent robotaxi incidents, including Waymo cars failing to yield to school buses in Austin and a crash involving a child in Santa Monica. Waymo's chief safety officer says the system detected the child and reduced harm.
Our analysis indicates that our technology was able to detect the young girl as she emerged from behind a tall SUV, brake hard, reduce speed, and reduce harm. And we found that the Waymo driver would have responded faster than our models of an attentive human driver.
On cybersecurity, Waymo says its safety systems are protected from outside connections.
So you cannot actually hack into it, connect to it, and drive it remotely.
Tesla was also pressed on driver safety, whether the company can detect if someone is drunk, distracted, or too impaired to take control.
And it requires driver supervision. In those vehicles, we use a variety of detections to ensure that the driver is attentive, including eye monitoring, hands-on detection.
Both companies said they'd accept liability for system failures, and senators also pushed for better access for people with disabilities. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Allegations of racial discrimination against white workers. Nike is now facing an investigation. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is seeking a federal court order to probe alleged discrimination as part of Nike's DEI programs. The commission said it's investigating whether Nike intentionally discriminated against white employees and job applicants, including by disproportionately targeting them for layoffs. It said Nike had refused to comply with a previous subpoena seeking information such as data on the racial and ethnic makeup of the company's workforce and a roster of employees chosen for mentoring and development programs. A Nike spokesperson called the filing a surprising and unusual escalation, saying the company's cooperating with the commission and has provided thousands of pages of information.
And health authorities across the Americas are raising an alert after a surge in measles cases. Mexico is reporting the highest numbers so far. More than 1,000 cases were confirmed in the first 3 weeks of this year across 7 countries, including the U.S. and Canada. No deaths have been reported so far. Health officials are monitoring hotspots closely, though. That includes South Carolina and parts of Mexico. They're urging residents to ensure that their vaccinations are up to date. The Pan American Health Organization says gaps in immunization are what's driving this rise, especially among children under 1 and adolescents. Some experts blame declining vaccination rates on the COVID pandemic response. Authorities advise anyone who may have come into contact with the virus that they should monitor themselves for symptoms as well as consult healthcare providers. And up ahead, America's 250th birthday celebrations will be featured at this year's Super Bowl. What the America 250 Commission has in store. We're going to have that and more. We'll be right back after the break.
With Select Specs £6 specs, you can get 10 pairs of prescription glasses for just £60. That includes frames, prescription lenses, and delivery free to your door. And what makes this really special is each pair can have a different prescription. So it's glasses for everyone. SelectSpecs.com/£6. 10 frames, all with prescription lenses and delivery for just £60. You don't get that on the high street. Right now you can save an extra 5% with offer code CG5OFF.
Hi, my name is Brady. When I was born, my parents thought everything was okay. My mom and dad were so excited to take me home.
I still get goosebumps telling this story. Several days in, his skin started to become very cold and clammy. We noticed that he had become blue around his mouth, and something was just very off.
We packed up as fast as we could. Brady stopped breathing twice on the way to the pediatrician. And that was one of the #1 things that just haunts me to this day.
I was born with a congenital heart defect called aortic coarctation. If my parents waited just 1 more hour to drive me to the hospital, I would not be here today. But thanks to research funded by the American Heart Association, I had heart surgery that saved my life. But not every kid is as lucky as me, which is why we need your help. Just call the number on the screen or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help. Get people trained in CPR. Get more hospitals certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. And help fund the next medical breakthroughs to help save kids like me.
When you donate to the American Heart Association, you're helping save lives like my son. And now my son is happy and healthy thanks to the support of people like you.
When you call with your $19 a month, you'll get this really cool t-shirt as a thank you. Many children die from congenital heart defects. I can't wait to grow up to become a heart surgeon and fix babies' hearts, but until then, I'll keep helping the American Heart Association. So please join me. Just call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org to become a monthly donor and help save lives.
Now's the time to save during the annual clearance event at Mathis Home. We have over 100 dining sets in stock with the styles you'll love. Values like this are hard to find. Take your pick. These modern dining sets are just $3.99. This one features a wood grain finish and 4 upholstered side chairs. This set has a durable faux marble top and 4 side chairs. Your choice, just $3.99 with fast, free delivery. Come save with the annual clearance event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Welcome back to NTD Good Morning. While there's been a lot of attention on the halftime show, we are going to be covering the Puppy Bowl later on, but we're also going to be talking about the prayer breakfast, which is also happening on today. Let's tune in, though, to the Puppy Bowl.
And I think the Puppy Bowl film footage is just being teed up now. But the America 250 Commission, they've actually partnered with the Super Bowl committee. So they're going to be promoting both the Puppy Bowl, the Super Bowl, and of course the America 250. And look, here we do have the president. We got him. He's there at the National Prayer Breakfast. So we're going to tune in now to his words.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to Pastor Paula. Paula's an incredible woman. She's been with me a long time, right from the beginning. This is a beautiful American tradition, and it's a true honor to be back with so many incredible leaders and people of faith at the National Prayer Breakfast. I think I've been here just about every time. It's hard to turn it down. I don't have the courage to turn it down. Sometimes I want to. Come back from a horrendous trip fighting people that can't stand us, keeping us out of wars, and seeing things that nobody would believe that anybody would see. And last time I came, I got in at 4 a.m. They said, "Sir, you're going to be speaking at 7?" I said, "Really? Oh, that's wonderful." I said, "Where?" "National Prayer Breakfast." I said, "I'll be there. I'm afraid not to be. I need all the help I can get." And, you know, I never get a fair break from the fake news, which is back there. That's a lot of fake news. Because last time I was having a lot of fun. We had a big crowd. We had 60,000 people, and I'm talking about the fact that I will never make it to heaven. I will never, ever. And I was being funny. I was trying to be, you know, you can't be sarcastic with them because they write your words, and they don't, the people who are reading the words are much different than but I said, I'm never going to make it to heaven. I just don't think I qualify. I don't think there's a thing I can do, but all of these good things I'm doing, including for religion, you know, religion's back now hotter than ever before. I mean, I have to tell you. But I said, even though I did that and so many other things, I named things, I said, I won't qualify. I'm not going to make it to heaven. And the New York Times did a front page story that Donald Trump is questioning his life and the meaning of his life. No, I was just having fun. I really think I probably should make it. I mean, I'm not a perfect candidate, but I did a hell of a lot of good for perfect people. That's for sure. Right, Mr. Speaker? But I want to thank the dozens of members of Congress here this morning, including a man of immense faith and immense talent. He's a very talented man. He's a small minority. It's just really because we go back and forth between minority and majority, and half the time we're minority and we still win. How do we win with a minority? You know, we have a couple of people that I consider to be negative. But we're 1 up, 2 up. Sometimes we're 3 up. In fact, we'll have 2 more victories very soon. We'll be 3 up. And we consider that having a massive majority, okay? Right, Mike? That's considered, we're not spoiled. Can you imagine if we ever picked up like 20 or 30 seats? Wouldn't that be pretty? That'd be too easy. I think it would be too easy. It wouldn't be fun. I get these calls from Mike. Sir, could you speak to so-and-so 3 o'clock in the morning? You know, we have 2 types. We have the type that goes along with us and believes in us, and they're with us all the way. And that, I would say, is 95%, right? And then we have the type that needs a little love all the time, no matter what it is. For the easiest thing on religion or republicanism, the easiest thing to pass, they always make it difficult, but they always get there. But I have to call them always at 3 in the morning. I'll always get that call. Sir, Speaker Johnson's going. So I get a, hi, Mike, what's up? What time is it? So it's 3 in the morning. So we have 9 names there giving us difficulty. They want to have a phone call. I said, all right, let's go. Here we go. Same 9 all the time, right? You know? So I call up. I say, Chip, how you doing, Chip? Hello, sir. Sir, I can't quite get there. I just don't know. Could I come over for breakfast? You know, we have a 9 o'clock vote, right? I said, really, is it not? Sir, you got to get me there, sir. Let's have breakfast, Chip, great. Then I get others, pretty much the same 9. I don't want to name too many, but I would. And they always get there. We have one that doesn't get there. We have one guy. He's an automatic no. No matter what. If we did welfare reform, if we did the greatest thing in history for religion, no matter what we did, no matter how good it is, greatest tax cuts, and we just did the greatest tax cuts in history, he voted against. He voted. Now, no matter what we do, this moron, no matter what it is. We could put them all together. I think, Mike, what would you say the top 5 things? Name them. We'll put them in one bill, and we'll put them before we get 100% vote, except for this guy named Thomas Massie. There's something wrong with him. We call him Rand Paul Jr. You know, it's like they just vote no. They love voting no. They think it's good politically. The guy's polling at about 9%. It's not good, but we have great support, and we have great support for religion. You know, I've done more for religion than any other president. When Paula was saying that, it was so nice. I was proud of it, and I said, that's true. I told the people backstage. What she said is true. Who else would say that, right? But it is true. But then I said, but that's not saying much, because not too many presidents have done too much for religion. I want to tell you that. Certainly modern day presidents, they bailed out on you. They bailed out. They want to be neutral. They want to be neutral or against. You know, the Democrats are against. I don't know how a person of faith can vote for a Democrat. I really don't. And I know we have some here today, and I don't know why they're here, because they certainly don't give us their vote. I certainly know that we're not going to be convincing them to vote for a little thing called voter ID. It polls at 97%. And even the Democrat, the people, the voters, are at 82% for voter ID, but the leaders don't want to approve it. They said they will strike. They will not allow it to happen. It's polling at over 90%. It's called voter identification. When you go to the polls, you show, yes, my name is so-and-so, and I live in the country. I'm here. I can vote. They said, that's not allowed. And no, everyone's trying to figure it out. And they do something to win. You know what it is? They cheat. But let's get on to another subject. No, at that, they're the finest, probably anywhere in the world, I would say. But we're trying to pass voter ID and other things having to do with your religion. And getting the Democrats to vote is very, very tough. But we're grateful to the co-chairs of the breakfast, Representatives Ben Klein and Jonathan Jackson and Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I want to thank a man who's been with me for a long time. We've been friends, and I used to be interviewed by him, and all he wanted to talk about was war. I said, this guy, you know, he's very smart, went to the top schools, was a top student. He's like me. I was a very good student, too, but nobody would think so, you know, and nobody thinks Pete was a good student. I don't know. They think of him as a tough cookie, a flamethrower, which I like, actually, in the position of Secretary of War. But he has done some job. Pete Hegseth. You know, he was very popular. He turned down a very large 5-year extension contract for millions of dollars a year. Oops. I don't want to say that. Your wife is here. She's saying, are you crazy? He's got the greatest wife. But it's true that Pete has just been incredible. And I used to go and be interviewed at Fox and Friends. You remember those beautiful days? And I'd say, what do you want to talk about? So I want to talk about releasing about 25 prisoners. They have arrested American soldiers because they taught them how to fight, and they fought really well. And they won every battle. And now they put them in jail because they said they were too tough. I said, so how many are there? 22. And some of these guys were they were fairly tough, wouldn't you say, Pete? But, you know, it's true. We teach people how to fight, and then you put them in jail because they fought a little bit too hard. And we took care of a lot of business, but that's all. We didn't talk about the normal things that an interviewer would be talking about, right? But I saw that, and I saw his love for the military. It was obvious. He was always looking to protect soldiers. And I said, you know, this is a really smart guy. If I ever get this thing, I got to get it. It wasn't easy, you know. They rigged the second election. I had to win it. Had to win it. I needed it for my own ego. I would have had a bad ego for the rest of my life. Now I really have a big ego, though. Beating these lunatics was incredible, right? What a great feeling. Winning every swing state, winning the popular vote. The first time, you know, they said I didn't win the popular vote. I did. But they said. So they'd always say, would always thought they'd introduce me. While Donald Trump did not win the popular vote, you know, I'm sitting up being introduced by a Democrat or somebody. And they say, why Donald Trump did not win the popular vote. He won the presidency. Here he is. I said, that was terrible. I said, and we won the popular vote by a lot. We didn't want to play any games. This has been a much different. We had a great first term. We had the greatest economy in history, but this one's going to blow it away. Already it's blowing everything away. We have $18 trillion coming into our country, blowing everything away. But we had a great first term. We rebuilt the military. You know, Biden gave a little chunk of it to Afghanistan brilliantly. He left tanks and planes and, you know, little things. I said, why didn't you fly the planes out? He said, well, nobody thought of it. You could have flown. He said, it's very hard to remove the equipment. Really? You couldn't fly an airplane? They buy $150 million brand new airplane. Sir, I think it's better to leave it. Why? It's more cost effective. So we leave them a brand new jet. I said, these people are crazy. But we have it under control now like you've never seen, and our military has never been stronger. And you saw that with the B-2 bombers in Iran, and you saw it recently with Venezuela, where we're getting along fantastically with leadership. Really become a great relationship. I don't think there's been anything quite like it ever. In fact, we have 50 million barrels of oil floating right now over to Houston, and we're You know, we're working with them really well. I don't think I've ever seen anything. The cooperation that we have and it's great for them because they were in big trouble economically, and yet they have more oil than any other country in the world, I think, except us. But they have more oil just about than any. And by the way, us and them, we have 68% of the world's oil. Now, I know that doesn't mean too much to people of great religion. I know you want to hear about that, but, you know, we got to keep our country strong, and we're doing really good. But that's been an amazing operation. I would say when people saw that, I was just talking to a great leader from El Salvador, and he said, man, that was some attack. I've never seen anything like that one, right? Right? That was good, even by your high standard, right? That was a hell of an attack. But we have a great country. We have tremendous leaders. We have a fantastic cabinet. We have unbelievable bench. And one of them is Attorney General Pam Bondi, who may be here. Where's Pam? Is she here? Where? Where are you, Pam? Where? See, she wants to keep it nice and low key. You're really catching fire, by the way, Pam. You know, they were saying about Kristi Noem yesterday. I did the Super Bowl interview. Sir, are you going to relieve Kristi Noem of her duties? No. Oh. I said, why would I do that? We have the strongest border in the history of our country. We have the best crime numbers we've ever had. Going back to the year 1900, that's 125 years, we have the lowest crime numbers, despite the fact that this horrible, world's worst president, this is the worst president we've ever had, Biden. He had no idea he was president, so he doesn't take it personally. I don't want him to take it personally. Fortunately, he has no idea what the hell I'm saying. And he's watching right now. He's happy with what I just said. Okay. This is what we had running our country. But no, he was our worst president. We had some bad ones. We had Obama was very bad, terrible divider of our country. He was a divider. And believe it or not, we're bringing the country together. You know what's bringing it together? Tremendous success. We're having tremendous success. We have more investment being made in our country now than any country has ever had by many times. You go back 10 years, a certain country, not us, $3 trillion. We have in 11 months, because the 12th month is coming out next week, we have $18 trillion of investment coming in. The biggest ever was $3 many years ago. And one of the reasons for it is Secretaries Doug Burgum and Doug Collins. They are drilling like, you know, my whole thing was drill, baby, drill. Where are they sitting? I love those two guys. Come on, stand up. And is Catherine there? That's Catherine. Yes. Hi, Catherine. Chris. What they are drilling like nobody. I spoke with Chris yesterday, Doug. I said, how are we doing? Sir, we're drilling more oil than anybody's ever drilled by double, right? By double. We're doing it. That's why I was in Iowa last week with the farmers who were doing very well. We just handed them $12 billion out of tariff money because they were taken advantage of by foreign countries, various foreign countries. And I said, how much was it that they got hurt for? $12 billion. I said, good, let's write them a check. I gave the farmers $12 billion. And they don't even want it. They just want to be treated fairly. But we're getting it from that, but we're getting it with nobody's ever in history, and we've never done it either, like anywhere close. We're taking out more energy out of our beautiful land, oil and gas, clean oil and gas. And I always say, clean, beautiful coal. You know, the only thing I told these two guys they have to do, because they're the greatest energy people in the world, the best. I said, when you mention the word coal, anytime you mention coal, C-O-A-L, anytime you mention it, has to be preceded by two words, clean and beautiful. So Doug was making a speech the other day, and I sort of tried to pass a note because he mentioned coal about 40 times, and he kept saying clean, beautiful coal. Clean. It really only works a few times, right? I said, no, when you say coal, clean, beautiful. You know, we buy all that wind from, we don't anymore. So we haven't approved anything in wind, right, Doug? Nothing, because it's, just, it's a quick way to losing money, losing beauty, losing your fields, killing your birds. And other than that, it doesn't work. And Europe is getting, Europe is so bad with the windmills, they're destroying their country with wind. And I was over there, it's not even recognizable what they've done. They've got a big problem on their hands. Between immigration and energy, Europe is destroying itself, and they better get smart. And I love them all. I'm friends with everyone of every country over there. I've helped them a lot. Got the GDP up from 2% to 5%, which is, for spending, for military spending. Nobody thought that was possible. Nobody thought 2% was possible. Got them to 5%. But it's not recognizable, Europe. If you go through the different cities, it's a very sad thing. And I tell it, I went over to Davos, they invited me, and when I left, they said, that may have been the stupidest invitation we ever gave to somebody, Switzerland. But they have to, I just say it like it is, they're destroying their country. Their energy is ridiculous, what they've done, and the immigration is, I'm telling you, it's a place where many of these countries are not recognizable, and I'd like to see them straighten it out. Very soon, it's going to be impossible for them to straighten it out. We have our director of national and international intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's doing a great job. Where's Tulsi? She took a lot of heat 2 days ago because she went in at Pam's insistence. She went in and she looked at votes that want to be checked out from Georgia. They say, why is she doing it? Right, Pam? Why is she doing it? Because Pam wanted her to do it. And you know why? Because she's smart. And they said, well, this has to do, her position has to do, it's really not so, but her position has to do with international. I say, well, the same people that said that, they've been saying Russia, Russia, Russia has been screwing our elections, okay? So let's assume Russia had something to do with it. They say, no, Russia didn't have. So now they're saying Russia had nothing to do with it. Because if I say Russia, that it's perfectly fine. But you could add China and about 5 other countries to it. But she's done a great job, and Pam has done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it both. I haven't seen you in a couple of days. And I have one of the greatest negotiators. I'm so proud of him. He's a great negotiator. He's smart and respected by everybody. Jameson Greer, U.S. Trade. Where is Jameson? He's around here someplace. Thank you, Jameson. Boy, he's good. We have a great team. We have a great economic team, a great military team. We have Raisin Cain helps Pete. Raisin Cain, General Cain, he wiped out ISIS in 3 weeks. I was told by General Mattis and General Milley, sir, it will take 5 years. I said, what? Sir, it'll take 5 years. I said, you mean we have the best equipment in the world, and we're finding guys that use bad rifles, knives preferably. They're very good with a knife, but a knife shouldn't do it. And I said, why? And I flew over to Iraq, and I met a guy named Cain. I came out of the plane, and there's a handsome general standing there. I had 3 generals. I went there to find out why the hell we couldn't win the war. Why aren't we winning the war against ISIS? They've been, playing games with us. So I wanted to see, and that's where I met Raisin Cain. I said, what's your first name? Raisin, sir? They call me Raisin. I said, what the hell kind of a name is that? Right? We've learned a lot about him. Now we get it. In this very quiet manner, he's brutal. Just ask Venezuela. Ask Iran. They're negotiating now. They don't want us to hit them. We have a big fleet going over to Iran. But so Raisin was there at the bottom of the plane. What's your name? Raisin. What's your last name? Cain. I said, so your name is, let's get this straight. Your name is Raisin Cain, right? Yes, sir, that's what they call me. You're the guy I'm looking for. And then he said, sir, if you'd like, you can go and sleep. It's a 20-hour trip. If you'd like, you can go and sleep. We have quarters prepared for you. I said, no, I don't have to sleep. I've been on a plane sleeping for 20, I mean, I'm sleeping on the plane. I don't sleep on planes. I don't like sleeping on planes, you know. I like looking out the window watching for missiles and enemies, actually. But he said, sir, we have a place prepared for you and we can meet after you've rested. I said, no, let's go right now. So we did that. And I said to him, I said, they tell me it's going to take 5 years to defeat ISIS. No, sir. I said, well, how long would it be, General Kane? Sir, we can do it in 4 weeks. I said, what? We can do it in 4 weeks, sir. And I should have maybe a couple of weeks left over. I mean, you can do it in less than 4 weeks? Yes, sir. I said, well, how come they tell me, our television generals, as I call them, two very poor generals, I mean, these guys, they look nice, they were nice guys. They didn't have what it took, believe me. Yeah, some people have that. They don't have what it takes no matter what. I said, how come they tell me it's 4 to 5 years? And he said, well, I don't want to speak badly about anybody, so I'd rather not comment on that. I found that to be nice, okay? But I said, all right, tell me how you're going to do it. Well, sir, we use this one base here, and we're hundreds of miles away. And by the time the planes get to the target, they have to come back and refuel, and we're too far. I said, why do we do that? Because we don't want to offend any of the other countries. I said, we have a lot of portable airports, right, Pete? We have portable airports all over the Middle East, runways that are portable. You put them down, you take them up. We have equipment. Nobody has the stuff we have. We have airports that look better than Kennedy Airport. And they're built in sand. And it took us about 2 minutes to build them. No, the equipment is incredible. You can land any plane on them, right? Portable. And we've got many of them, sir. We have to use them. I said, why don't we? Because we didn't want to defend, offend another country. I said, let me ask you a question. You're in the middle of the desert. Would another country know if we're taking off from some strip in the desert? They would have no idea, sir. They don't have radar. They don't have anything. So he explained it. So we want to hit them, sir, from 17 different locations. And we want to hit them left. And we hit them, and here we go. And we want to hit them right. Sure, and we want to hit them from the top, and we want to hit them from the bottom. East, west, north, south. Sir, they won't know what the hell hit, and we'll knock them out. We did it politically correct. 5 years, we'd call up the country head, and we'd tell them, we'd like to attack ISIS today. As soon as the call was made, they'd call ISIS and tell them, you're going to be attacked. Get the hell out of it. This is what we were doing for years, but not with Raising Cane and not with Pete Hegseth, right, Pete? We don't do that. And we have a little different method. So I went back to Washington and I said, this guy, he said, and then I checked up on him and he was so respected. I said, he's really respected. And I called him back. I said, General, go at it. Do good luck. God bless you. And he said, I say that to the people going out every time. And they say it when we give the okay for the attack on Venezuela or the attack on Iran. He says, I say, we all say, we're all in a room together watching. We watch it. We watch these attacks. We always say, God bless you. Have a safe journey. It's a dangerous journey. These are dangerous journeys. Flying through the middle of Iran, they know you're coming, and you're in a B-2 bomber, the most incredible thing, and they weren't able to see it because it's stealth. So good, we ordered 20 more of them, brand new, updated version. I actually said, don't get the updated, just take the one you have. They said, no, sir, the new one's even better. We have a military. Nobody has a military like we do. I rebuilt it, by the way, during my first term. I mean, I think it's one of the best things I did. I rebuilt the military during the first term, and now we're really rebuilding the military, right? But the bottom line, I called him, I said, so you think you can do it, General? Yes, sir, I can do it. And it was over in 3 weeks. It was incredible, and I mean over. And then the election's rigged, and I wasn't there, and for 4 years, ISIS rebuilt. And they have a little bit of ISIS now again. And we knocked the hell out of them the other day in Nigeria because they were killing Christians. You know about that. They were killing Christians. So you can't do that. When Christians come under attack, they know they're going to be attacked violently and viciously by President Trump. I know it's not a nice thing to say, but that's the way it is. So we're also delighted to welcome visiting leaders and dignitaries from more than 110 countries. They're here, including one of my favorite people, President Bukele of El Salvador. He has been so incredible. He has been such a great ally of this country. Thank you very much. Such a great ally. He's, some of you have seen, he operates rather large prisons, like prisons that's so large you can't see from one side to the other unless you have perfect 20/20 eyesight with binoculars. That's how long and big. And they do a job. They do a very humane job, but they're very strong prisons. And we send a lot of the people that we capture, the murderers, the drug dealers, the people that came into our country illegally and have already committed massive crimes. We had 11,888 murderers, and many of them are in your prisons right now, right? And he does a fantastic job. I mean, he really sounds like a different kind of, this is a religious breakfast. You're going to walk away and say, he's the meanest son of a gun I've ever seen. But I'm not. I just want to keep our country safe. It's very simple. We have to keep our country safe. So I want to thank you, Mr. President, for a great, amazing job you do with our people, too. They work together so well. Appreciate it. Not easy. This prayer breakfast comes at a special time for our country as we prepare to celebrate the 250th anniversary of American independence. And we're also very shortly going to have the Olympics and the World Cup. And, I got them. I was the one that got the Olympics, and I was the one that got, and I was so upset because I got them. I tried to move them up, but I couldn't. And my first term, I was getting them, and Barack Hussein Obama would refuse to call the Olympics because, in all fairness, they took advantage of him. Remember, he went there. He flew all the way to whatever country, some beautiful country in Europe, and he made his presentation, and he ended up coming in last. And that shouldn't happen to a president. If you're a president, you have to get a wink. I'll go there, but are you going to give us the Olympics? Otherwise, I'm not going there. I don't want to. So he sat there, made a very nice presentation. He came in last, came in fourth place. So he hated those people. He won't say that, I don't think, but I'll say it for him. And so he refused to be involved with the Olympics. I got a call from Democrats. The Democrat mayor of Los Angeles called me. So we have a problem. We have a president that refuses to call the Olympic Committee. And I just won the presidency. I was president-elect. And so I wasn't even in office. And I called this gentleman from, I think, Denmark. Can you believe? They own a large piece of ice that we're negotiating for. It's the biggest piece of ice in the world. The world's largest piece of ice. They'll never run out of water. But I called the president, I called the various people, but the head of the Olympic Committee, very nice guy, and I couldn't get him off the phone. He was starving for love because nobody called him. They just wanted to know from the president, does the United States want the Olympics? They didn't want to choose the United States and then, have somebody say, like, we don't care. I said, I desperately want it. We're going to get it, blah, blah, blah. And I spoke to him, I spoke to other people, and I got it. I called up the Democrat from Los Angeles, happened to be the mayor of Los Angeles. He was devastated. He couldn't get the all they wanted to do is have an acknowledgement from the head of the country. Wouldn't do it. But I did it. We got the Olympics. And we got the World Cup. But then I don't know if Johnny's here from the World Cup, but that guy's great. He's great, my friend. But I got them both, and I was really upset because I got them. And then I said, think of it, I won't be president because they're in the following term. Because, when you get the Olympics, usually it's 10 years in advance. I said, so I did all that good work. It wasn't that easy. I got it. Then I got the World Cup. They both were happening now in a year, another year and a half, a year, right after the 250. I didn't get 250. I tried to claim it a couple of times. I said, and I produced 250-year anniversary. That was my deal. I got 250 years, and the press hit me hard on that one, so I gave that up immediately. But I happened to be president during that, so think of it. So I'm the president, and I got these two things, and I said, you know what? I got the Olympics to come to the United States, and I got the World Cup to come to the United States, and I probably won't even be invited to be there. And I was really angry. And then they rigged the election, and then I said, I'm coming back. And I got the Olympics, and I got the World Cup. Right? And at some point, I'm going to get right back onto the teleprompter, and you're going to say, that was a wonderful speech. On that momentous day in 1776. This is so much easier. You know, it takes real talent to do the other. The other is much more talent, but that's why we're president, I think. But we have very important words to say, and this is such an important group. And we have plenty of time to say it, because when it comes to religion, I have all the time. I'm one of the few that say we have all the time in the world. But on that momentous day in 1776, history changed forever when our founders proclaimed the immortal truths that echoed around the world and down all the way through time. They declared that all of us are made free and equal by the hand of our Creator. A lot of presidents refuse to say that. They refuse to say that. Some refuse. Some major politicians refuse to say the word God. They don't want to say it. I say it. That we are endowed with our sacred rights to life, liberty, and not by government, but by God Almighty Himself. And those words rang out from Philadelphia and launched a revolution, not just in America, but in the hearts of all humanity. The principles of the Declaration of Independence, which is one of three, sitting right beautifully in the Oval Office. I took it out of the vaults, and it's beautiful. It's beautifully protected, and it's a magnificent document. I stare at it all the time, and I read it as often as I can. A true, brilliant work of art. They've stirred the spirit of patriots in every nation, liberated millions from tyranny, and lifted billions from poverty, and it's doing now more than ever before. We're doing better than this country's ever done. In 1 year, think of what we can do. We just have to keep it going, Mr. Speaker, if you don't mind. Okay? Got to keep it going. But no, and the Democrats admit this. No president in his first year has ever done the things we've done. When you think we've gotten the largest tax cut in history, larger than even in the first term. But we've done something else, and I think we've brought back spirit to our country. You know, 2 years ago, you couldn't get anybody to go into the military. They laughed at you when they said they didn't respect our country. They didn't respect our president. They thought he was a joke. They thought our country was a joke. Other countries laughed at us and took advantage of us with tariffs, and we weren't allowed to charge, and they were allowed to charge, but we are allowed to charge. And I hope we get that Supreme Court decision, because we have taken in hundreds of billions of dollars of money. We're a rich nation again, doing what other nations have done to us for many, many years. But the biggest thing is what's happened to me. It's the spirit of our country, and that goes for religion, but it also goes for the military. We couldn't recruit anybody to go into our great military. We were the worst I think it's ever been 2.5 years ago under the Sleepy Joe Biden administration. I call him Crooked Joe and Sleepy Joe. I find them to be equal, actually. I do polls. Which is better, Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe? And they poll about even. So I use both. But we have now the greatest recruiting that we've ever had. Everybody wants to be in the military. We're hot as a pistol. We couldn't get anybody to go into not me, the last administration. Nobody wanted to be in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the Coast Guard, Space Force, which is turning out to be, I'm so proud of it because I'm the father of Space Force. I'm the one that wanted it. So, but we couldn't get people. We couldn't get people. They couldn't get people to go into any of them, including our police departments and our fire departments. They weren't proud of our nation. They had no spirit. And now we have had the single greatest recruitment in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. We have waiting lists of people wanting to get in. In fact, if we want to expand the military, Mr. Speaker, this would be a very good time to do it. We have so many people want to get into the military that, we also won in the Supreme Court, as you know, based on merit. It was a merit, and we take people based on merit. Like, we'd prefer a strong person in the military as opposed to a weak person. We prefer somebody that's a strong, powerful person with extremely good vision that can shoot a rifle very well to a person that's extremely weak, non-muscular, can't shoot a rifle, has no idea where the hell he is. We have a military where they all look like Tom Cruise, only bigger. Now we hire on merit now, and that goes for colleges. People get into colleges now. If you have great boards and great marks and you work, and then somebody else gets in that's not nearly as qualified, now it's a merit system. It's tough in one way, but it's, our country was built on a system of merit, and then we went away from it a number of years ago. We got it back. That was a brave decision by the Supreme Court, I'll say. And it's tough on some people. It makes people work harder, I think. But we have to base our country on merit, or we won't have a country. We were going in such a bad direction. It's incredible. And I give a lot of credit on that one to the Supreme Court. They give me some bad ones, too. But I give a lot of credit. That took a lot of courage to do it. But they understood it was the right thing to do to be a great nation. However, I think, and I may be wrong, but I don't think so, because I've watched a lot and I study a lot. You have to have religion. You have to have it. You have to have faith. You have to have God. And thankfully, as we gather today, there are many signs that religion is coming back, and now it's no longer signs. It's just coming back. It's coming back so strong. Your churches are filling up. You didn't have that 2 years ago. It was hurt by COVID, but and they treated you terribly. The Democrats treated you terribly. Sorry, Mr. Congressman, but the truth is, they had pastors holding services outside. The people were standing 15 feet away from each other, and everybody was arrested. It was like they ran it. They always like to say, Trump is a dictator. They love that. I'm not a dictator. But they were like dictators. They were like the Gestapo. They were arresting people for going to church, and they were arresting people and treating people like horribly. And I made a lot of amends to those people. Those people were treated very badly for wanting to go to church. It had a huge impact, negative impact on churches, but the churches are now coming back stronger than ever. Nobody's ever seen anything like it, actually. So you're all hot, okay? It's like the king of Saudi Arabia. He said, and you probably heard me say it, I love it. I was with him. And he said, a year and a half ago, he said, a year and a half ago, he said, we thought your country was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. Nobody even close. I think you can say that, El Salvador is very hot, but I think we can say that, right? We have the Congo here. I don't know. The Congo is hot. We just ended a war. One of our 8 wars that we ended, right? He's a great guy, too. He's a great guy. You talk about people that suffered. Those people suffered. In 2025, more copies of the Holy Bible were sold in the United States than at any time in the last 100 years. Now, how about that? How about that? Did you know that, Mr. Speaker? You know, Mike Johnson's a very religious person, and he does not hide it. He'll say to me sometimes at lunch, "Sir, may we pray?" I say, "Excuse me? We're having lunch, you know, in the Oval." It's okay with me. But he's a very religious person, and he is popular, and he's doing an unbelievable job. So I think God is watching over you. God is watching over him. I don't know about me, so I hang around with him because I feel I'm protected a little bit. In the last 12 months, young Americans attended church at nearly twice the rate as they did 4 years ago. And many churches, you see the stats, I mean, people are talking about it. The radical left is not happy about it. Many Democrats are not happy about it. This, by the way, will be the last year the Democrats show up to this event, I tell you. But I got to say, how the hell do you vote for these people? But some churches are seeing a 30%, 50%, or even 70% increase in the number of converts and also the number of people going to church every week. To support this exciting renewal this morning, I'm pleased to announce that on May 17th, 2026, that we're inviting Americans from all across the country to come together on our national mall to pray, to give thanks, and we are going to do something that everyone said, like, that's tough. We're going to rededicate America as one nation under God. You know, a lot of people Thank you very much. That's what I mean by the Spirit. It's so incredible to see it. I see it so much. I've never seen anything like it in 1 year. I thought it would take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to be where we are. We've done it in, really 10 months. We're at 12, but now it's just getting to a level that we've never reached before as a country. But that includes religion. And maybe that's part of the reason that we're doing so well. There's such great spirit. It's all spirit, and it includes religion. I've always said, you just can't have a great country if you don't have religion. You have to believe in something. You have to believe that what we're doing, there's a reason for it. There has to be a reason for it. We're all working and we're behaving. I behave because I'm afraid not to, okay? Because I don't want to get in trouble. No, it's such a positive thing, and people are starting to see it, and they're going to church, and they're meeting people, and families are developing. It's really, the things are happening in our country right now, and we have to get the bad ones out. We have to do it. We can't let that happen, and we're being very tough in law and order and crime, and I hate to say it because it doesn't seem to go hand in hand, but you can't have people going to churches and coming out and have criminals taking advantage and doing things that nobody wants to even describe. And that's not happening anymore. You know, Washington, D.C. is a very safe city now. When I took over, Washington, D.C. was a death trap. Many people were being killed. 2, 3 a week, they were being killed. Come in from Iowa to look at the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson, the George Washington, the monument. And they called the parents, "I'm sorry, sir, your son has been killed." What? Your son has been killed. That doesn't happen. You know, we took out 2,000 monsters out of Washington, D.C. It's not just that we have the troops, and they are central casting. I love them. I think, to me, it looks much more beautiful. You walk down the street, you have 3 guys that are 6'6" and angry-looking people, but they actually are very nice. They're angry when they see criminals. That's all. They get angry. They took Tren de Aragua. And honestly, I don't want to say this, but they beat the crap out of them. They beat the crap out of them. They found that they were doing bad things, and Trinidad Rugg didn't want anything to do with these guys. Then we put them in the paddy wagon. We took them back to where they came from. You know that. But we took out over 2,000 hardcore criminals. You know, 2% of the population produces 90% of the violent crime. Think of that. Think of that. And Washington now is a very safe place. I get it all the time. I go into the White House and people that work in the White House come up, sir, I want to thank you so much. Young woman, man. They say, I walk to work. I couldn't have walked to work. I wouldn't have even thought to walk to work before. They walk to work. The place is booming. Restaurants are opening up. The restaurants were almost going to be all closed. They would have been all closed. You couldn't even go. Even if you got there, the restaurant would be robbed with people sitting there. Hold up your hands, everybody. Give us your money. And then they'd whack people with the butt of a gun. And Washington is a very safe city. We have almost no crime. And it's a miracle, but it took place very quickly. And it's the same thing for every other place we've gone. In Louisiana, New Orleans, I got a call from the governor, Jeff Landry, great guy, great governor. He said, could you send the troops? Because I'll tell you what, this place is out of control. I did, and in a period of 2 weeks, we got crime down by 25%. Now it's been about 7 or 8 weeks. We have it down 77%, and within another month, they're not going to have any crime, and they're not going to have any crime in that wonderful city of joy that people go up and down. Right? They're not going to have any crime there. It's amazing. Memphis, Tennessee is another one. The mayor works with us. And, it's nice when they work with us. It's just so much easier. Sometimes we can't work with them. Like in Minnesota, they won't work with us, but we've still driven crime down 25%. If we didn't have to fight this horrible governor and this horrible fake mayor, Fry, this is the Constitution of the United States. People don't want to be mugged. They don't want to have a murderer living next door that was killed 3 people in a certain country and is now living beautifully here. Because generally speaking, if they've killed in another country, they're not going to be the best of citizens. And they're rough people. Remember in the campaign, I used to say that their criminals make our criminals look like babies. It's true. These are some of the meanest, most vicious people. They only gave us the worst. They don't send, they're very smart. Guys like the president over here, El Salvador. He's sent us a few. I don't want to talk to him about it. But he sends us some real bad ones. Look, you just say it, we'll do it more positive. Isn't it true that you will not send your good people to the United States? Wouldn't you say? Look at him. He doesn't know. He said, what's going on here? But no, he sends bad people to the United States. And I'm going to talk to him after this. But I love him. He's done a great job, right? They're smart people. And they're very streetwise. When you're running some of these countries in South America, Latin America, you got to be streetwise. You got to be smart. He's very smart, very streetwise. But these leaders of those countries, they're not sending. They cherish their good people. They only send us their bad people. But we have done some job, and we have, in Minnesota, crime's down just despite that we have to fight these lunatics over there that are stealing money, by the way, also. I believe it's actually a cover-up of the $19 billion at least that they've stolen. I actually think they do this as a cover-up. Under the Trump administration, we're standing strongly behind Americans of faith, stopping the attacks on our values, our traditions, defending religious liberty, like no president. I believe like no president has ever done before. I do believe that. We got rid of the sinister Johnson Amendment so that pastors can speak the truth and they can speak it without having their tax-exempt status revoked. I was with a large group of ministers, pastors, priests, rabbis. We had a group of people that were great group. And I asked him for help. Paula White was there, remember, Trump Tower at the top of the building, beautiful building. And they were so enthusiastic for the first election. They were so enthusiastic. And I didn't want to be pushy because I'm not a pushy individual. But I didn't want to be overly aggressive. So I figured I'll ask him in the second meeting. So the second meeting came, the similar group, ministers. We had Muslim leaders there. We had everybody there. But there were about 55 of them. Beautiful boardroom on the top floor, tall building, beautiful building in New York. And I said, I'd like to ask, and they were so good. They said, sir, we love you, you're great, blah, blah, blah. I figured this was going to be the easiest endorsement I ever got. And I said, I'd love to have your endorsement. And it was like ice. It was like death. I said, what the hell? What happened? I said, could I ask what's going on? You were really nice, and now you've just clammed up, and you're like scared. And one of them stood up, that Paula knows very well. He said, sir, we're very concerned because if we speak about religion, if we ever endorsed you as an example, we would lose our tax-exempt status immediately, and our church would go out of business. He said, what's that all about? And it was the Johnson Amendment. Lyndon Johnson had a fight with somebody in Dallas or Houston with a minister, and he didn't like him, and they didn't like each other. And the minister thought he was terrible, and I guess he didn't like the minister. And he was a powerful president. He knew how to do things, and he got something passed called the Johnson Amendment, which basically takes away your right of speech. And people like me, and people like a lot of people, they want to hear from ministers. They want to hear from priests. They want to hear from them. And you were restricted from talking about very important things like who to elect. If you said that, you were gone. You couldn't do it, even if you said it in a very nice way, because they were going to be better for the church. And we worked hard, and we're going to make that permanent pretty soon, I think, Mike. But we worked hard at getting rid of the Johnson Amendment. It's gone as far as you can say anything you want. Now, if you do say something bad about Trump, I will change my mind, and I will have your tax-exempt status immediately revoked. If I go into one of these churches, we will stop Trump. You ever hear some of these guys? I said, not too many, I can tell you, because we won like 94% of the vote. People got it. People got it. We had a lot of people pretending. They pretended to be very religious, but I don't believe they were. But the people ultimately got it. You know, you have a Robert Jeffress. I don't know if he's here. Is he here, Robert? Is he here? Robert Jeffress was on television in 2016 when I just sort of announced I was running. And he said, I know every candidate very well. There were 18 candidates, me and 17 others. He said, I know every candidate very well. And I know Trump a little bit. But he may not be as good with the Bible as some of them. He may not have read the Bible as much as some of them. In fact, he may not have ever read the Bible. But he will be a much stronger messenger for us, and he will get things done that no other man has the ability to get done. And I endorse him fully. And I said, you know, that guy, I didn't want to admit anything, but that was very interesting. And I think we've gotten more done, Paula, than anybody could have ever gotten done. What we've done, nobody else would have been able to do. We reinstated also service members who were thrown out of our military over religious objections. That was a big deal. They thrown out over religious objections to vaccine mandates and all of the other things. They used any excuse they could. We restored those patriots to their former ranks with full pay. We've given them full pay. They were taken advantage of. And I really think it was over religion. I actually think that they used the vaccines as a way of really punishing people over religion. I don't know how you can vote for these people. I really don't. I don't know how you can. We passed the largest ever expansion of school choice so that every parent has a chance to send their child to a school that shares their values. And today I'm also pleased to announce that the Department of Education is officially issuing its new guidance to protect the right to prayer in our public schools. That's a big deal. Now, the Democrats will sue us, but we'll win it. We'll win it. They'll sue us. They sue us for everything. I'm the most sued human being in history. They've sued me for everything. I got impeached twice over nothing, but the Republicans were great. Just wiped them right out. But I got impeached. I got indicted. Wiped them out. There's never been, there's never been, to the best of our knowledge, any politician that's ever been indicted who won an election. Very popular politicians got indicted, they lost. I got indicted so much, I got tired of calling my wife. I'd say, darling, I was just indicted again. She said, oh, darling. What? Oh, what does that mean? She's very elegant. You saw that from the movie. She's not into the world of indictments. It's not Melania. No, she doesn't know what an indictment, it's not her deal. Her movie, by the way, big success. That movie is a big success. Yeah, I called up so many times. I'd say, honey, I just got indicted again. Don't worry about it. But think of it, many times. And then they say, Donald Trump is using the Justice Department to get even. And I don't. But wouldn't I have a right to? Think of it. There's never been in history a president treated like I got treated. But they say I use it. And it's amazing. I did that interview yesterday, and they said that. They said the question, are you using the Justice Department for your own personal gain? They said, they indicted me 87 times. It's the most incredible thing. But we don't do that, Pam, do we? Huh? We do what's right. We do what's right. And Pam does it. We have great people. We have great people working there. But we do what's right. We expanded the Mexico City policy to stop taxpayer dollars from being used to promote radical gender ideology all around the world. No other president would do that. No other president would do it. And my administration also rejoined the Geneva Consensus Declaration to affirm the right to sovereign nations to protect life, defend the family, and to be faithful to God. Nobody ever did that. I signed an executive order to slash federal funding for any public school that pushes transgender insanity. This is crazy. On our youth. Who would think about that? Who would think if you go back 15 years, you're talking about, and I stopped the mutilation of children. The mutilation, the word is mutilation. They mutilate, the mutilation of children. I stopped it. Who would think if you said that 15 years ago, they'd say, what the hell is he talking? Is he crazy? It's levels you've never seen. We're still fighting it, but, transgender for everybody. They want transgender for everybody. We stopped it. And we also, very importantly, we got men out of women's sports. It's enough of that nonsense. We created the White House Faith Office, first time ever, which is its 1-year anniversary this month, and headed up with Paul and Jenny and some incredible people. And we created the Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty. We do a lot. That's a great commission, by the way. That's a phenomenal commission. I signed it. Everybody wanted to be on that commission. That was really something. That was a good sign, too. And we have incredible people on it. I signed an executive order to combat the vile scourge of anti-Semitism, which is really raging, rising. Surprising. Nobody thought they'd see that happen very, very rapidly during the 4 years of Biden. And I set up an official Department of Justice task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias, because you do have a lot of that. They don't talk about that. They're always talking about other religions and other different, but a lot of anti-Christian bias, and you see it going in foreign countries. I mentioned Nigeria. There are others. We're hitting them very hard. My administration is confronting head-on the militant and really intolerant campaign that tried to drive religious believers out of public life and out of society. I mean, you're a religious leader, and now religious leaders are respected as much or more as any leader of any type anywhere in the world. Religious leaders are respected again, and that's the way we have to have it. They really are respected again. They were having a hard time. They were having a very hard time. The last 4 years previous to the one that we served, the last 4 years were brutal on religious leaders. They were brave. Some were very brave. Some couldn't take it, and a lot of people understand it. Some were brave, really brave. The Department of Justice recently charged 9 individuals for storming a church in Minnesota during a worship service and trampling on Americans' First Amendment rights. I watched that tape, and that was violent. I saw the people sitting there, Pam, and they were scared. Some were scared and some were holding up their hands like, I believe in God. But they were violent people. Screaming, your parents are Nazis. Your parents are Nazis. The people are sitting away. And I thought the minister was great. He was so calm and good. They're screaming at him. Terrible. Right in the middle of a church service. It's got to be illegal. I mean, Pam is doing it. I'm not doing it, but Pam is doing it. And I'll tell you, people are happy with the job that's taking place because they're bad people. They're bad people. You have one Trump hater in particular that I watched his performance. It was terrible. They try and use freedom of the press and all this to get out of a criminal event. But that was a horrible thing to witness. And if we allowed that to go on, you wouldn't be able to have a church. No, everybody would be afraid to go to church. And that we are not going to allow, are we, huh? And in the audience today is an incredible woman who reminds us what a precious gift of religious liberty we have here in America, a tradition that sadly is not shared in so many places in the world, and even in our country. And our media is so bad. If we had a good media, it would be so much easier. But think of it, we're doing this all with a really corrupt and bad media. Miriam Ibrahim is a Christian from Sudan, and I'm working hard to end that war. We're very close to getting it done. That'll be number 9. If we don't get Russia, Ukraine first, but we're working hard to end that whole war. We're very close to doing it. We've almost done it. In 2014, a Sharia court in that country sentenced her to 100 lashes and death for marrying a Christian man. At the time, she was 8 months pregnant with a daughter. Miriam was ordered to renounce her faith in Christ, but she refused to do so and gave birth to that daughter, Maya, while she was in shackles, being beaten and living in a condition that nobody in this room would even be able to imagine. Believers all over the planet rallied to Miriam's cause, prayed for her protection, and successfully pressured for her release. I did that. I did that with one phone call, actually. And she had such support. It was so easy. And when I explained it to the powers that be, yes, sir, we will do it right away. I just wish I knew earlier. But it's a big world with a lot of people. Miriam and Maya are here this morning and now live safely in America, where we protect Christians. We don't kill them, we protect them, and you're getting protected better now than you've ever been protected before. So Miriam and Maya, thank you. Where are you? Are they here? They're here someplace. Where are you? Please stand up. Stand up, thank you. That's great. A lot of bravery. No administration in modern history has done more to confront the plight of persecuted Christians around the world than we have. With us, it's a mission. It's actually a mission. On Christmas Day, in close coordination with the government of Nigeria, we worked with them, but they got to get tougher. I ordered powerful airstrikes to decimate the ISIS terrorists who have been slaughtering Christians in that country by the thousands. It's not even believable.